16, 35, 25, 42, 3, 29. Thanks for playing the Pennsylvania Lottery. Benefits older Pennsylvanians every day.
Welcome to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. We got a lot going on all around the country, not just Philadelphia. We're not just talking about South Jersey. We're not just talking about Delaware. There are a lot of things happening right across the country. We'll go through each of these live cameras that you're taking a look at. Let's start on the left side. Top left, you're taking a look at the United Nations because those 4 Artemis II astronauts who made their way through deep space a couple of weeks ago, yeah, they're going to be making an appearance in front of the United Nations, talking a little bit about their journey. This is exactly what we were meant to do. This whole mission was so that we could find out more about what's going on in outer space, find out what's going on with the moon. Could we potentially land there and have actual people on the moon like full time, like in some sort of space station? And so they're going to be having a discussion a little later on. As soon as that happens, I'd love to take you out there live so we can listen in to what some of those astronauts are talking about. And then, of course, on the right side of your screen, you're taking a look at the big arena where the Sixers are going to have their game. I believe it starts at 8 p.m. There's a lot at stake here. I want to say we're at game 6, and if all goes to plan, we could make our way on through this, but we got to fight really, really hard. It has been a tough season. I mean, I'm really preaching to the choir. You guys already know. Of course, bottom left-hand side of your screen, you're taking a live look at the beautiful city of Philadelphia. As the sun goes down, I'm hearing that in maybe a little over 10 minutes, rain could start. That might prove to be an issue for a principal that we hear is going to camp it out on the roof of his school. And then, of course, on the right side, bottom of your screen, you're taking a live look at the U.S. Capitol. That's because we hear that earlier today, the House finally voted on a Senate-backed bill, and that is to reopen the government. You may have forgotten that the government was even stalled. Yes, there were some parts of Homeland Security that had not been funded. The Democrats, the Republicans, they couldn't come to a general consensus. Well, they say all of that is a thing of the past, at least temporarily, because they decided to move forward with funding a majority of the Homeland Security. I'll be talking to you about exactly who's going to get their paychecks in just a little bit, but it's about that time. We talked about the Sixers, but the Phillies are also still playing. They had a doubleheader today. Remember, yesterday the weather wasn't that great, and so they actually got rained out. They decided that they were going to postpone that game to tonight. I want to check in with our sports team. It's been all over everything that's going on. Scott Grayson joins me now. Scott, I don't know, where do you want to start? You want to start with the Sixers who are coming up or the Phillies who are still going strong?
Let's start with the Sixers because it's a playoff game. So, yeah, you had it right. 8 o'clock start tonight, so there's still an hour to go. Game 6, season on the line as it was in the last game out, and Joel Embiid really kind of put the team on his back. The best thing he did was he kind of went down low near the hoop, and the Celtics tried to double team him. When they did that, he kept kicking the ball out, and guys were making three-pointers, and they were hitting their shots. They're going to have to do that today. They're also going to have to try to keep the Celtics from shooting the lights out of the building like they have in the past in this series. When the Celtics struggle shooting the ball, the Sixers tend to win the game. So I think that's the bottom line tonight when you're watching this game. Just see if the Sixers are able to force the Celtics into missing shots, and if they are, the Sixers have to get rebounds and then obviously try to do their job offensively as well. So we'll see what can happen in Game 6. Hopefully they can force a Game 7, which would be Saturday night in Boston.
Absolutely. And, I hate to even think about the alternative, but for the people who, aren't following this along, what happens if they don't win tonight?
Then the season's over. They're down to, they have no more losses left. So if they lose tonight, then, the season's over, and we try to evaluate, was it a good season? Was it not a good season? Where did it go wrong? Were there changes that need to be made? Some people might, be looking to see if they might make a coaching change and get rid of Nick Nurse, or will, perhaps they point the finger at Daryl Morey, or will they bring it all back and see what they do from there? But the Sixers hoping that they're not really having those conversations yet tomorrow. They want to hopefully force a Game 7, like I said before, and see what happens. But, yeah, that's what's at stake. They've got to win or the season is over for the Sixers. And of course, they're trying to tap into some of that magic that was in that building last night with the Flyers winning in overtime.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually glad that you mentioned that. I was taking a look at the Fantastic Sports Show, and they were talking about the fact that it was like an orange out yesterday, and they were kind of shocked that they weren't seeing so much in there. And then I want to say the last person they had an interview with, it was all decked out. The guy was crazy. So people are still feeling that Flyers confidence for tonight's game.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I was in there last night for covering that game, and when that goal went in, the roof on that building almost went off. I mean, it was crazy, the noise in there. And, you know, that's what needs to happen tonight. The fans need to get in there, and they need to be loud. They need to really try to give the Sixers a home court advantage. You know, the Flyers fans have really come into these games, and they've been pretty confident in this team, the way they've played, the way they've gone into the playoffs. Sixers fans have gone into, I think, every game nervous, not really knowing what they're going to get from their team. And I would say that's, again, the case tonight, although, you know, on the Fantastic Sports Show, Breland and Jason were talking to fans who feel pretty confident that they can get it done tonight. That confidence is growing now that the Sixers have won, you know, 2 games in this series. The first one, it was nice. The second one, it goes, okay. You know, the way they won with Joel Embiid playing the way he did, it really is getting these fans to maybe believe in this team a little bit more. And if they can win this game tonight, that momentum will go to Boston with them. And perhaps maybe the Sixers can get by the Celtics. We will see what happens.
Hey, I know everybody's looking to see that. And it's also good to hear that Joel is playing really strongly. Of course, when he was out with an injury and then came back, wasn't playing so hot, a lot of the fans were against him. But if he's coming back, he's strong, he's doing what he needs to do, I'm sure everybody's going to be happy tonight. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. They need him to play a good game. I also think they need Tyrese Maxey to have a good game tonight. If those two guys can really feed off each other, I think they'll be hard to stop. Hard for the Celtics to really try to stop both of them. So that's really kind of the thing to watch tonight.
Okay. Now, real quick before I let you go, the Phillies are still playing. It's that doubleheader. Honestly, I couldn't imagine having to play 2 games almost back-to-back. They had a little bit of a break there. But have you been paying attention to that game at all? Where are they at?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting day for the Phillies. I'm going to kick it back even to last night because the Phillies, when their game got postponed, a lot of them came over to the Flyers game, and they showed them on the screen there. There were some boos when they were shown on camera, but they came over to watch and support the Flyers. And then today, because it was rained out yesterday, they do have that doubleheader. The first game today, they were behind 2-1 all the way into the 9th inning, and in the bottom of the 9th inning, Bryson Stott gets an RBI triple that scores the tying run, and then 2 batters later, Justin Crawford got the hit that walked it off, and the Phillies won 3-2. So they're 2-0 now under Don Mattingly, 2-0 since they fired Rob Thompson. The 3rd game going on right now, and the Phillies got it started with back-to-back home runs from Trey Turner and Kyle Schwarber. Since then, they're about midway through that game. It's tied at 2. So Phillies trying to get a series sweep. They've already won that series. That's something they hadn't done in a couple of weeks. So winning a series, a good thing. Trying to get the sweep and taking 3 from the Giants before they go back on the road.
All right. And you mentioned Schwarber there. I heard that he made his 350th home run. That's congratulations.
Yeah, he had his 350th in the first game, and then he followed it up with his 351st in the second game. So he's swinging a hot bat right now.
Good to hear. Good to hear. I'm hoping that in the next couple of, maybe by the end of the hour, or actually more realistically, probably towards the end of the show, we're seeing that we come out on top.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It would be great to see this team get going again because they have not been playing anywhere near their level of capability. Their talent level is too strong. They've got to play better, and that's why they made the move to fire Rob Thompson.
Yeah, definitely a hard one, but it does seem that fire has probably been put under them, and now they got to play a little harder. So, Scott, thank you so much for walking this through all of this with me. Next time I see you or maybe another member of the sports team, I also want to talk about the Eagles because I hear somebody's going to be donning that number 9 again.
Yes.
So we got to talk about that too.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, no, you're right. I won't give it away. You got it.
Okay. Okay. We'll see you soon.
All right.
And you guys know I did mention that yesterday the Phillies couldn't play because the rain. And I did hear that soon enough we could see a couple of drops coming on down. I want to get right out to Kathy Orr, our meteorologist. Kathy, tell me how accurate that read is. Are we expecting rain sometime soon? Has it already begun?
It's happening right now. You read our minds in the Weather Center, Judea. Yeah. Earlier we discussed that there were a few rogue showers out there with some instability in the atmosphere, and the timing was such between about 6 and 7 o'clock, we could see some showers coming through. And here they are right now. If you take a look at the Center City, Philadelphia, you can see right on the parkway here by the Swan Memorial Fountain, you can see showers. They're on our camera, they're on the streets. It's not going to last long, but it is making things wet. So for folks that are at the Phils game, the rain is moving in. It's bearing down in the area. And as you look at Ultimate Doppler, it looks like a few tiny little drops here and there. But as we take a zoom in, you can see some pockets of yellow, and that's heavier rain. It's coming right through Center City, Philadelphia. It's heading right into South Philadelphia. And you can see if I take a zoom in even further, it's right along 611, and that's Broad Street. So it's heading right over the stadium. So it's not going to last long, but it is going to be a heavier shower. And you can see this area right here is where the stadiums are. So it is raining there right now, but we are seeing, some of the heavier stuff beginning to really infiltrate that area where the stadiums are. So anybody at the game, yes, hope they brought the poncho. We did discuss a few rogue showers, and there they are. And this is it for the evening. Overnight low temperatures will be in the 40s, and that's pretty much where they should be for this time of year. 46 degrees in Philadelphia, 42 degrees in Doylestown, 44 in Wilmington. And tomorrow we get the sunshine back, lots of it. We have a wind coming out of the southeast, keeping temperatures down the shore around 60, but still comfortable for this time of year. The average high for May 1st is 70. And of course, as we start the day with plenty of sun, it will end the same way. And by the evening, clouds will roll in. But skies should be partly cloudy by Friday night. So we still should be able to see the first full moon of the month. And it is called the flower moon. And not because it has flowers on it, Judea. We're not going to be seeing these pretty flowers, but they're all given names, and you can find them in the Farmer's Almanac or online, and they date back to Native American and colonial times. The flower moon is called that because it represents this time of year. So typically in May, flowers spring forth across North America in abundance. So that's why the first full moon in May is called the flower moon. Next month in June, it's called the strawberry moon because that's when we see a lot of strawberry fields blooming. So this month we're really excited because we have 2 full moons, and the second one is called a blue moon. And no, the moon is not blue. But it's called that.
That's my question.
Because, yes, you asked me that earlier. It's the second full moon in 1 month. So you get 2 full moons in 1 month. It doesn't happen often, hence the saying, it happens once in a blue moon. That's where that comes from.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff coming. So first full moon tomorrow, so don't miss it. Second one, May 31st. I have a lot of time to remind you about that.
No, we appreciate it. Hey, I have to ask you your professional opinion on something. We hear that there is a principal who is trying to keep his word. He told the students that he'd be camping out on the roof tonight. All he has is a tent and a queen-size mattress. But you did say that the rain was starting pretty soon.
Yeah.
So it actually has already started. I guess it really depends on where you are.
Yeah.
Is this a good idea?
Well, you know what, if he goes out, depending on where he is, so many locations across the region will not even see this rain. It's kind of localized, Chester County, Delaware County, Philadelphia. It may linger into South Jersey. So I would say, wait until these showers pass and then go out, but there is no lightning with this. So his tent may get a little wet, but he'll be safe overnight.
Okay, well, sounds good. This guy is out in New Jersey. This is Elizabeth Haddon Elementary School that we're talking about. So hopefully he'll be all right. We'll be checking in with him a little later on. But there's so much out there in the world of weather that I want to talk to you about. I'm glad you brought us that perspective on the moon because, as you know, I mentioned at the top of the show, the Artemis 2 astronauts who made their way to and around the moon are actually going to have a press conference pretty soon with the United Nations. So it all ties in, you guys. It all ties
It does.
in.
It all does. And there's so much excitement about the moon. I think everybody's paying much more attention to space and with the Artemis 2. So I think we're going to be paying more attention to full moons, lunar eclipses, even solar eclipses. The past solar eclipse we had was almost as if it was the first one we've ever had around here, just because there's just so much heightened interest in space.
Absolutely. I remember everybody was trying to hustle and get those glasses because
Yes.
if you didn't think ahead, you probably weren't going to find them out at the store or anything like that. A lot of people had to order them.
Yeah, and years ago, Judea, I'm dating myself, but back in the early 2000s, you'd have to go to a hardware store and get a special type of welder's glass to look through for it to be safe, because not everyone made those glasses. There was no Amazon, so you couldn't order them the day before and have them come the next morning, right?
I never thought of, well, I guess I should have thought about that. Yeah, Amazon is not that old.
Yeah.
And the other thing I thought about, I remember when I was in college and we had one, everybody had to go to the closest museum because they were giving them away for free.
Yes.
As a college student, hey, we're not trying to pay for anything.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, now there's watch parties everywhere. Now you can, overnight them to your house and have those glasses, and everyone's well aware of the safety. And now it's just available to everybody.
Yeah, you do not want to look at that with your raw eyeball. Not a
No,
good
you
idea.
do not.
It's not a good idea at all. All right, thank you so much, Kathy, for giving us our forecast. You guys, we got a lot of news to bring you still ahead. I want to let you know about a situation that I saw unfolding right before the show began. We did lose the live shot where we could show you this that was happening, but out in Tacoma, Washington, I heard that there was a school incident, a stabbing. They say at least 5 people were injured in this incident. I was listening in to one of our sister station reporters who was live on the grounds as this happened. You could see the police cars come up. He was actually interviewing students as they came out of the school, and a couple of young women, young girls, they talked to him and they said that they thought that this happened all over a vape pen and some sort of disagreement. Now, again, this is coming from students, not necessarily from law enforcement. And then we also heard from 2 young boys who talked to that reporter as well. One of them said that one of the people who's injured in that stabbing was actually a good friend of his. This is Foss High School that we're talking about out in Tacoma, Washington. Again, we did lose that live shot where I could show you the scene, but I did want to let you know that that was something that was unfolding literally right before the 7 o'clock started. So we're going to take a quick step back, but when we come back, again, a lot more to talk to you about, including that White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting and what's happening with the suspect in that case. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. I want to take you out a live look at Citizens Bank Park. You can see it's really dark and dreary out there. The rain, as we've been telling you guys, has started to come down, and we actually just got a notification that the game between the Phillies and the San Francisco Giants has been delayed. And you take a look at the score there. I don't know, this kind of feels like a scheme. We were finally, up For a while, it was 2-2. We're up 4-2, and now all of a sudden the game has to get delayed. But of course, everybody needs to be safe. Fans, players, coaches, everybody needs to be safe. So we'll keep an eye on the game and let you know when it starts back up. This is what's happening live out here in Philadelphia. But now I want to turn your attention back to Washington, D.C., where we know a little while ago the White House Correspondents' Dinner ended very, very early in a shooting incident. We heard that a young man by the name of Cole Allen has been arrested and he's been to court. We also hear that he'll be spending quite a bit more time in jail. I want to get right on out to Sarah Allegre, who's our reporter from Fox News. She's talking to us a little bit more about what we're learning about this case. Sarah, what you got for us?
Hey there, Judea. You know, instead of pushing for release today, the defense zeroed in on how Cole Allen's being held. They asked the court to take the Southern California suspect out of 24-hour lockdown. So that means he's in isolation under constant watch. It's been that way since the attack took place on Saturday. Now, the top prosecutor on the case, though, says there's very good reason.
This defendant was calculated, he was premeditated, he had every intention of killing the president and anyone who got in his way.
Yeah, and looking into that 24-hour lockdown, the judge earlier today didn't rule on it, saying it's not her call to make at this point. So that means Allen stays in strict federal custody. In a court filing yesterday, prosecutors warned Allen fully prepared to shoot up a room filled with some of the country's most powerful people. They also revealed this photo taken inside a hotel room at the Washington Hilton before the attack. In a mirror selfie, he's dressed like he's heading to the event. Red tie, buttoned up, but if you look a little closer, there's a shoulder holster, a knife, and other tools like pliers and wire cutters. Right now, Allen's facing 3 federal charges, but as we've discussed throughout the course of the week, the most serious here, the attempted assassination of the president. On top of that, prosecutors say he brought guns across state lines, used one during the attack. The Fed saying Allen carefully planned this trip to D.C., determined to target President Trump and other high-ranking members of his cabinet.
Once we get into the grand jury, there will be many more charges, but these are some of the most serious charges in the federal code.
And as we wait for those to potentially come down, Allen is scheduled to return to court for a preliminary hearing coming up on May 11th. Judea?
Now, Sarah, you know I've been asking you each step of the way, what are we expecting to hear out of each of these different hearings? What makes them different than the last one? Do you have any idea of what could come out or what may happen in the May 11th one?
Well, with the detention hearing today, all to discuss really, are we going to hold him as we await trial? It looks like today they said, or at least Allen's defense agreeing with the Justice Department. Next up, though, we should have a better idea of, do we have enough evidence for this to move forward with the trial? And I do want to talk about evidence today. You know, prosecutors actually just released new video shutting down what they call friendly fire shooting allegations involving that Secret Service officer who was shot Saturday. They say Cole Allen was the one who did it. They have videos showing Allen also casing the hotel the day before the attack. It looks like he was combing through a gym area, some hallways as well. Again, all evidence that was submitted that will go forward in this case as we approach that May 11th date.
I'm actually really happy that you brought that up because that has been a point of contention for, you know, the last couple of days. A lot of people saying whether they weren't sure whether Cole was the one who fired that shot that ended up hurting the officer. I do want to let people know he was wearing a bulletproof vest, so it seems to be okay. So, you know, thank you for bringing that up. I hadn't seen that video just yet. And while we are talking about evidence too, I know the prosecutors, they're trying to build this case that he had really thought about this, planned it, heard that the president was going to be in town at the hotel. Can you talk a little bit more to what they're trying to hammer home on their case?
Well, they're not only going into that, but looking at the weapons that he bought in the state of California, the 2 guns, a shotgun just last year, I believe during the month of August, and then a handgun a couple of months back. And these were weapons that he brought across state lines with him. They also keep doubling down on his transportation, mentioning it was by train, as we've discussed, leaving out of LA, stopping briefly in Chicago, and then making his way rather, to the Washington Hilton. Friday night. And then there's that new video that's surfacing right now. Piro actually just released it, the top prosecutor on the case, and it shows him carefully walking through the hotel. They also say that there's video of him outside as well, looking through the area. I want to say the words that they used were combing the area, scoping out the hotel before the attack, saying this just goes to show he has well planned this out. He was thinking of it days before and weeks before, and still waiting to hear from them as they continue on this investigation to show the length of this too moving forward. And we expect that to reveal itself as this case moves forward.
All right, Sarah, and with just a little while left that I have with you, I want to ask you one more question. We've heard before that family members came forward that they were some of the ones who said that there was something going on with their loved one, that he was sending out some concerning messages. Can you talk a little bit to that?
Yeah, and one of those statements comes from the suspect's sister, saying that Cole Allen, her brother, had made some radical statements in the past, and it goes to show that this case is being stretched out from coast to coast. In New London, Connecticut as well, a statement made from another sibling too. So we know that the family has said that they were aware of some radical statements in the past, and then you juxtapose that with mentions from the community as well, knowing on paper this guy had a clean record. He was very well involved with his community, graduated from Cal Poly back in 2017, Caltech, University of Dominguez Hills too, and as we've discussed last Tuesday, also a very involved member in a tutoring facility there. That's where he worked, won Teacher of the Month back in December of 2024. So we have those statements from siblings, countered by statements from neighbors and family members as well. And so we know the investigators taking that in, looking into his digital footprint as well very closely, and then also trying to uncover whether or not anyone else was involved in that attack.
It's just mind-boggling when you put all the details together, because as you mentioned, on paper seemed like a regular guy. I heard one of his professors actually spoke to his personality, saying that he was a great student, seemed pretty quiet, just like your run-of-the-mill student, anybody like any other. But then again, you can't put anything past anyone, so we'll keep watching and see how this case turns out. But I appreciate you breaking down what's been happening so far. I know the world is watching, especially those here in the U.S., trying to figure out why the president keeps being targeted, especially as they say that this was an attempted assassination. So again, Sarah, I appreciate your input. And you guys out there streaming with us, I want to bring you out really quickly before we continue on with our show. Out in the United Nations, that event has just began. I've seen some of the astronauts grace the stage, and so every now and again we'll be able to dip back out and show you what's happening. This is the gentleman from NASA speaking on the mic right now. As we get more, I'll bring again this out to you. I'll turn the mics up so you guys can listen in. But first and foremost, I want to check back in on some of the biggest things happening in the world of sports. So I told you the Phillies games for now delayed. Sixers game seems like it's going to go on full steam. I mean, the arena that they play at's got a dome. They'll be quite okay in there. I want to get right out to Don Simony, who it seems to be on fan watch these days. Don, I can hear it sounds like a party in there. Everybody's getting excited. Talk to me about the energy in the room.
Yeah, well, it's funny, Judea. We were in the same spot last night with all the Flyers fans, and here we are tonight with a bunch of Sixers fans, and people are getting pumped. Let's talk to some fans here. So what do you think? Do you think they're going to win?
I think we have a great chance of winning. VJ Max to the moon, baby.
All right, how about you?
I'm feeling great. I'm fired up. Sixers in 7.
All right.
It was always Sixers in 7.
So what's the key tonight?
Joel Embiid dominating the paint, to the paint. Not a lot of threes unless they go down early, to the paint.
All right, well, go Sixers, right?
Our family dog after Tyrese Maxey.
Oh, you did? Oh, yeah, say that again.
We named our family dog after Tyrese Maxey.
I like that. That could be the good luck charm we need, right? All right, so you can see we are in the East Food Hall. This is where we were last night, talking to fans. Hello. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking they always won. They've lost 2 at home. They always won. Maxie said it. I trust them. Let's go. Go Sixers. Go Flyers.
Do you think it helps to have Embiid?
Yes, but they're gonna change it up on Embiid tonight. They're gonna probably double team him. So Embiid's got to be smart. Don't turn it over. Get rid of it. They're gonna have an open guy. Got to hit the shots. Boston's gonna change it up. They're not gonna let Embiid kill him again.
So then we go back to Boston.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The pressure's on them. So nobody expects us to be here, but here we are.
Right.
But we brought Paul George here for this reason. He's a playoff tested. He's a veteran. He can get through to these young guys, and we can win this. We can do this tonight. They owe us.
All right.
Go
I know.
Sixers.
I know. We need to win, right?
Let's do this.
Yeah. All right. So we're just going to make our way around. More Sixers fans. I am liking that hat. I like the sparkle. So how are you feeling? It's a half hour basically till tip off. What are you thinking?
I think we can do it. It's a little nervous, but I think we'll make it. We'll get there.
I was talking to one fan who said she didn't sleep at all last night.
Not that bad, but yeah, I think we'll take it up.
Yeah. And how about you? Are you nervous? Are you feeling confident?
I got 100% confidence in the Philadelphia 76ers to win this game tonight and it's Game 7. I believe we can do it now with Embiid. And if we do, Alex, you better dance for us.
I think he's referring to Alex Hawley. Derek and Amy are big Fox 29 fans today. So, all right, thanks for talking with us. Hi, guys. We're live on Fox 29 covering the game. I see you guys are all Sixered up. What are you thinking?
A little wet right now.
Yeah, I know. It's raining out. How are you feeling besides being wet from all the rain?
They better win tonight after what we just went through. So, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
I mean, do you feel like some of the Flyers' energy is kind of seeping through? Like, are you feeling that, Philly sports fan vibe?
Yeah. I think everyone's pretty excited about what's going on. So, Maxie was saying that they need to show out for the home court. So, hopefully we're all in for a good game tonight.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of people are here. How about you? What are you feeling tonight? Are you nervous at all?
A little nervous, but we're fired up. We think Philly's got the win earlier today. Flyers W last night, so good vibes. Yeah, trifecta. Good vibes in Philly. Good vibes in Philly right now.
I think so. Yeah, the Sixers got to, they got to hold their court. I think if they play like they did in Boston, they're going to win. So. Well, Game 7, you never know. Never know.
Lots to be said for the underdogs. The underdogs. Absolutely. Lots to be said for the underdogs. Let's go. Underdogs.
Let's go. Flyers, Sixers. Let's go.
Right. No one expected the Sixers or the Flyers to be where they are.
Philly fans always expect it. They do.
And what are you guys thinking?
I'm pumped. I think we're going to get a win tonight. I think we're going to win the series. Trust the process.
Definitely Sixers tonight. Flyers last night, Sixers tonight.
What's the key?
Embiid. In the paint.
Yep.
Embiid.
Stay in the paint.
And VJ.
Go Sixers.
All right. Well, as you can see today, people are pumped. People are confident. A few people we talked to were, a little nervous, but no one ever expected the 76ers to get this far. No one expected the Flyers to get as far as they did, and now they're headed to the second round of the playoffs. We just take a spin around. You can see all the people who are here. All right, loving it.
I love to
You
see the
seem
energy.
excited.
I am very, very, very. We got to win tonight and then take it to Boston and win again.
All right. So lots of energy here. And, fingers crossed, we're looking for the trifecta, building off the energy of all the Philly sports teams. So hopefully we'll do it again tonight.
I know there's so much excitement in the room where the game's actually happening. There's also so much excitement at home where fans are watching. We've got a couple of people actually in our live stream chat right now. Sunny says, let's go 76ers. Please, we always get kicked by the Celtics. So they're looking forward to a big win tonight. We need to win Game 6 and then we need to win Game 7. We're going to do it. I think we can.
Absolutely.
I think we're a little delayed. Dawn, thank you so much for giving us that live look out with the fans, who of course are the heartbeat of the team. You guys, we will keep our eyes on what's happening out there. We'll also let you know when the Phillies do get back on the mound. As you know, the game has been delayed due to some weather. But I also want to let you know, out of the United Nations, remember I told you that those astronauts were going to grace the stage. I saw them one by one line up and get on there, and it looks like we've got a live look for you right there. Now, obviously, it's very smushed. There are so many people in the room, but let's see if we can turn it up and let you listen on in to what's happening there.
That global scale is our world, and what we do with it is our choice.
Something that I've really enjoyed relaying to people, I find it hard to find the words, but something that shocked me when I would look back at the Earth or the moon and then the stars in the background was the three-dimensionality of it. Every time I'd seen these things before, pictures of them, they're always like they were on a canvas. But being out there in space, they were no longer on a canvas. They were like in a diorama. It was like this weird thing where some stars look closer in our galaxy than others, and it just kept catching my eye, and it just kept making me feel really tiny, really small as an individual. But then at the same time, I was out there experiencing it, and it made me feel very powerful as a human race, what we can do together, the fact that we were out there. And something that has been really heartwarming since we got back to Earth and started to see how many people stopped to watch the mission and resonate with it reminds me of all of you, and this is where we'll just reflect back on you for a moment. Every day people get up and they make a choice. Are we going to focus on the positive, or are we going to focus on the negative? Are we going to create this together, or are we going to destroy? And this is very meaningful for us to be here with all of you, because you are a group of people who get up every day and decide against all odds that you are going to create together.
Yes. Were you running experiments the entire time? Like, were you busy the entire, or were you able to really kind of just sit back and take it all in? What's going on as you're, are you actually flying this thing, or is the computer doing it? I mean, take us inside the capsule for a minute.
I can honestly say yes to everything you said. Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. Yes, it was busy, but yes, you had to stop and pause, and yes, we flew the thing by hand. But that's maybe one of the more unique things about this mission. Some of us have lived on the International Space Station, and you got weekends off. And we kind of had an off day. We called it an off day, but we did a lot of work on that day. But amidst the experiments, the science, the observations, the recordings, the drawings, the pictures, you can't help but to be taken by some of the things. And I'll say this, I know there are a lot of believers that really connected with some of the things we said and shared. And I will tell you, there were moments where, and also some of the believers also resonate with this, not using the Lord's name in vain. There were moments where the only appropriate thing to say was, "Oh my God."
So, just that one step further on that, did you not want to sleep because you not wanted to miss anything, or you have to make yourself, kind of take some downtime? I don't know. I would just want to take in every single minute and every single inch of it all. But you have to force yourself into a routine. You guys were, in a space about as big as this stage? I don't even know, if that.
Yeah, about the first 24 hours in space, we had two very short naps, interrupted by pretty major dynamic operations that we had to do to get ourselves on a trajectory out towards the moon. And we knew that first day and a half, the first 36 hours, we just knew that was going to be we were all in for the mission right there. We had to get this spacecraft pointed out to the moon. And then we all came together after we got our translunar injection burn done, and we knew we were heading 250,000 miles away from planet Earth, and we all made a pact that we now need to prioritize us, the four of us. We need to eat, we need to sleep on time, and it is hard to go to sleep on time. The work is amazing, the adrenaline is high, and you just want to stay up. You just want to keep going. But you have got to get into your floating sleeping bag that is tied to the wall. And some people would be upside down, and some people would be right side up, because there is no upside down or right side up there. And we started to prioritize living as humans. And it was a very distinct moment on around the 36-hour mark.
So you're in a space half this size of this stage, really.
Oh, tiny.
Who had the most surprising or annoying habits, or anything you want to share? Yeah.
We showed up for each other. There was a lot of grace in that spacecraft.
We did talk about that before we went, and we've been training together for 3 years. So if you can imagine, day in and day out, already we're like a family, and then you put us in a small spaceship to experience something that we're not sure our brains ever evolved to experience, and we become best friends solidified for life. So the grace that we gave each other when someone knocked someone else's foot out of the way and needed to get to what they were going for, whether that was a snack or a sock or the bathroom door or a water bag, we knew going into it how to accept each other for exactly who we are. And one of the most beautiful things was just watching that happen and feeling it from your crewmates.
Yeah, I'll even give you an example. And one day I was really embarrassed. I was opening up some granola with berries after I'd rehydrated it in the morning, and Victor was floating kind of beside me and up a little bit, and just when I ripped the package, it just went too fast, and it flung stuff flying across the spacecraft, and it's like dotting his shirt, and I grabbed a tissue, and I'm like, oh, and he's like, oh, don't worry, I got this. And he takes his spoon, and he just starts eating it off of his shirt.
No, we really developed new social norms. Like, we had our own culture, and we noticed when the Navy came on board our spacecraft after we splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, that they were actually awkward around us because we were so close together. We were like leaning against each other, and we were so used to touching each other that when the Navy divers came on and we started like leaning on them and touching them, they're like, whoa. So we realized we had our own social network there.
And they got their first whiff of us after 10 days of not showering.
That wasn't bad.
Might have been something else going on there.
No, I mean, with all of that pressure and with everything on the line and literally the entire world watching, you could have come out of that never wanting to see each other again. And instead, you came out with a brother and sisterhood, right? That I think we all could learn from. And what you just said really touched me, grace. Right? Grace for each other and forgiveness, even for all of the little annoying things. But even the big things, if you made a big mistake, you have to have each other's back. And what a lesson for all of us here as we're trying to work through the world's problems at the UN. So, anytime you were scared? I mean, coming in at 5,000 degrees, hoping those parachutes open? Yeah?
You know, there's
okay.
There's so many emotions involved across the spectrum. And we weren't experiencing it the way you may have seen it, the video clips and the pictures. It was continuous. It was a continuous experience, the thing that we had to like turn off to go to bed so we could take care of the human system and all of this. And there are so many emotions. The biggest one, well, not biggest, but when the main parachutes came out, I can tell you it was a ton of relief. That was a glorious moment, and a few moments later we splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, and that was when I just finally exhaled. People had been asking for 3 years, are you excited, are you excited? And when we splashed down, I think I like tapped you on the arm and said, hey, guess what?
Now. I'm excited. The other thing, because there's so many kids here, we just have to stress, when you're coming back from the moon, when we hit Earth's atmosphere, which is 400,000 feet up. It's not that far off the planet. Airliners are flying a little bit below that. We are doing 6 miles. You might have to translate this into kilometers. We're doing 6 miles per second. So every second, 6 miles are traversing in our spacecraft.
10 kilometers.
A second. I love having engineers on board the spacecraft.
We are at the UN.
And when we hit the Earth's atmosphere, we're doing 39 times the speed of sound. Like the numbers are you just can't even comprehend them as a human.
I've got so many for you. You mentioned, and the administrator mentioned the competition that's going on. You know, I had an old saying that I was really proud the president picked up in one of his speeches. You can't be number one on Earth if you're number two in space, right? It's the ultimate high ground. I would be remiss if I didn't point out that we're sitting underneath a prior competition, that we're sitting underneath the Sputnik satellite. There's a race to the moon. There's a race to build a base on the moon. And I think as we race into outer space, it's really going to be about the values that we take with us. But just walk us through, if you can, what's next in Artemis? You're Artemis 2, right? What's next with Artemis 3? The administrator and the president have laid out an amazing vision for a base on the moon. Like, are you guys going to be there? Can we go with you? I mean, right? Would that be 3D printing on the moon? Like, well, you know, paint that picture for us on what the vision is over the next couple of years.
I think a couple of us are going to definitely have a few words here. First, I just want to touch on, like, that was competition, but that was also motivation. Right. And that really put some focus into the world right there. So competition is not always a bad thing. It can be a very powerful thing. And then the other thing I wanted to say, especially to this crowd, is we had, not all, because so many people keep signing the Artemis Accords, but we carried a stack of flags of every Artemis Accord nation that had signed by the time we launched. And when we unfurled those in the spacecraft, we tried to we've got a little bit of video. I'll see if we can get it from our public affairs folks. It is the coolest thing being on this little spacecraft and seeing all the colors that represent all the nations that have signed the Artemis Accords so far. So I think at the highest level, at this level, when you're talking about what do we need to do this, that's exactly what we need. We need the world together, operating as one. You always say, if you want to go fast, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together. And the Artemis Accords are doing that.
You know, if I could, yes.
And the most recent country yesterday, Morocco.
Thank you,
I don't know if Omar's here. There we go. All right, there she is.
Awesome. And you know, Jeremy has some fantastic words that he usually shares about collaboration. And I just want to tie something together too. You know, standing here or sitting here underneath Sputnik, the first human to orbit the planet, Yuri Gagarin, launched on that same launch pad. And several years later, you know, competition can spark things that also lead to later collaboration. And some of our astronauts during that period after the shuttle retired launched from that same launch pad. Where that launched, where Yuri Gagarin launched, one of you may have launched from that launch pad, but you both launched from that launch pad. And so it's just amazing what that can grow into later. And I don't know if you want to speak to it, but also it has given us a chance to lead in some of those interesting spaces, those competition relationships that have grown into collaborative relationships. But you know, we also have a leading role in that, and we continue to lead, and we have some great partners that we get to go far together with.
Yeah, I will, if it's okay, Victor, since you invited me. But I do think it's important, especially as a non-American, to
All right, I apologize, you guys, but I'm going to have to take over here. They are going to continue this press conference with the United Nations, and we're going to try to get you back out there live. A couple of things that I want to let you all know. First of all, the Artemis 2 crew, yeah, they've got a Threads account, and they've been posting fun facts, images that you didn't see during the actual mission. That includes videos, photos, maybe even some memes if you guys want them. They have been really instrumental in talking back and forth with their fans, but also just people who really want to know more about space in general. I also want to answer some questions that we got in our live stream chat as they were talking. Somebody asking about when they would land on the moon again, and how soon we could actually have a lunar base. And it's looking like 2028 is when they want to send Artemis 3 up, where they plan to actually put boots down on the moon. And then by 2030, they're hoping that they can have that permanent base on the moon. I saw somebody say, though, if it's taken us this long since 1972 to send people back to the moon, is it even really realistic to think that we would actually have a base one day? And I mean, time will tell. We'll see what happens in 2030 if you guys and I are there to see it. So we are going to keep this thing rolling. When we come back, I want to talk to you all a little bit about the Iran war and how that's continuing to affect us here at home. Gas prices are soaring once again. We'll see just how badly it's affecting our pockets when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live, you guys. I'm Judea Murray. We're going to talk about, what's the latest going on with the war between the U.S. and Iran, and of course that ceasefire deal. How is that standing up? What's going on with the Strait of Hormuz? I'll try to answer all of your questions in one foul motion, but first and foremost, we need to talk about President Donald Trump, because today he had rejected Iran's latest offer in order to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. He says that this isn't exactly what he wanted. The U.S. blockade, he says, is doing exactly what needs to be done, and it would be silly if we were to, let up on things so quickly. So for now, the United States is rejecting Iran's latest offer in order to reopen the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for U.S. lifting its blockade and, of course, putting the nuclear program issue on hold. President Donald Trump has been very vocal about this decision today. He also told some of his aides that they need to prepare for a much longer blockade. So you're taking a look out there in the ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. As you can see, there's not a lot of movement. And every now and again, we're actually able to get a live tracker. I'm hoping that sometime tonight we'll have that available for you all. I'll keep my eyes open to see if we get it. But while that is happening, we also know that Hegseth says that ceasefire deal that we were talking about there has been paused for a 60-day deadline for this Iran war. As of 2 p.m., they were facing a key deadline Friday, of course, under the War Powers Act. That was a law that was passed in the early 1970s that was supposed to divide authority over military action between Congress and the president. But when we did go ahead and launch that war, it became where we would need a declaration of war that had been passed or Congress to authorize deploying forces in order for, let me back up here so I can make a little bit more sense. You remember that there was a huge issue with the president deciding that he wanted to go forward with this war. Congress, members of Congress were saying that he didn't have the authority to do so. They're calling it the War of Powers, and that's part of the War Powers Act, that law that I was telling you that was passed in the early 1970s. And so still a lot of people are concerned about where we are in this process, not exactly sure what's going to happen next, but that is the latest that we have there. And meanwhile, while that blockade does continue out into the Strait of Hormuz, we know that the price of oil has skyrocketed. We're seeing it soar once again in the United States, and that's affecting us when we try to go to the gas pump, fill up on a tank of gas. Last thing that I was able to tell you all was that the price of gas had gone up significantly. It was like a couple of cents in less than 24 hours. That was here for us here in Pennsylvania, for our neighbors in New Jersey, and of course for our neighbors in Delaware too, who had up until a certain point been seeing the cheapest gas in a lot of parts of the country. So again, we're keeping our eyes on that too. And then last but not least, the price of war. Hegseth actually talked about this. He put a price point of $25 billion. He's saying that's how much it has costed the U.S. to continue on with this war against Iran. And also talked about that 60-day war powers deadline. So I want to let you listen in real quick. As I mentioned, that $25 billion price tag, there was a heated exchange between him and Senator Elizabeth Warren where she kind of grilled him on that price point. Why are we paying this? What are we doing here? Let's listen in together.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Americans are paying a high price for Donald Trump's war with Iran. We've got 14 service members who are dead, over 400 more who are wounded. Prices are rising for nearly every American family. But someone is profiting off Trump's war. Insiders who know what's going on and who place bets on that inside information. On March 23rd, just 14 minutes before Trump unexpectedly posted about, quote, very good conversations on ending the war, traders suddenly bet $500 million on the price of oil, which, once Trump made his announcement, immediately dropped. It happened again on April 7th, and then again on April 21st, a surge in oil bets, then a Trump post, and then a huge shift in oil prices in just the space of minutes. It looks like insiders have been making out like bandits, using secret information about the war. Now, one U.S. soldier has been charged, but that was for betting on capturing Maduro months ago. Not a single person has been charged in the many, many, many trades over the Middle East war. So, Secretary Hegseth, do you have any explanation for these perfectly timed spikes in trading activity other than insider trading?
Senator, all I can tell you is that everything we've done in our department, everything we've done with information, in working with the White House and across the interagency has been completely above board.
Well, so what does it mean? Do you have any other explanation other than insider trading? Do you have a story for why just minutes before there's an announcement, there's a surge in trading activity?
Senator, I'm more than focused on doing my job and ensuring we execute properly, which thankfully, under this administration, our troops have done incredible things in all these missions. My job in all of those moments is to make sure we're prepared. And that's part of the reason why we've been so successful in these raids, in these efforts, is that this joint force is prepared.
You're saying you're not paying any attention to this insider trading. Is that what you're telling me? That you've paid no attention to this? You haven't noticed it? You haven't done anything about it?
What I'm saying is we're focused on our mission of executing for the American people, and what happens in markets is not, in betting markets is not something we're involved in.
What happens in betting markets doesn't matter to you, even if the information may be coming from insiders in your office?
Senator, it's not something we're involved in at all. And of course, we take operational security at every level very seriously. In fact, no one's taken operational security more seriously than us. If you look at what it required to keep secret Midnight Hammer and Operation Maduro, the absolute resolve with Maduro, and the steps we've taken, so no one's been tighter about ensuring that operational security is ensured.
To deal with insider trading out of your office?
I mean, we would ensure at every level that inside information
I
is
take that as a no.
properly safeguarded.
All right. Well, obviously you're not. I'm also concerned about recent reporting on your own financial dealings. with regard to profiting from the war in Iran. The Financial Times reported that your broker tried to buy hundreds of shares in a BlackRock fund invested in defense companies just before the war began. The law clearly prohibits the Secretary of
That entire story is false, has been from the beginning, and was made up out of whole cloth. And anybody that looks at it sees how it was worded from the beginning to make it look like I was involved in something I had nothing to do and never have. So any insinuation that I've ever profited other than serving this nation, what I give, what you give, what others give, I'm not looking for money. I don't do it for money. I don't do it for profit. I don't do it for stocks. And that's part of the reason why I'm able to be effective in this job, because no one owns me. No one owns this department. No one owns this president, and we can execute for the American people, and we do.
The law clearly prohibits the Secretary of Defense from owning stock in the 10 biggest defense contractors. Other senators and I sent you a letter with detailed questions about this, and you have not given us a response. So I'd like to hear you say, did you, through your broker at Morgan Stanley or otherwise, seek to invest in any defense-related funds right before Trump started the Iran war?
I'll give it to you as a big, fat negative.
Then let me ask you a second question. Is your broker getting your personal sign-off on any investment in individual stocks?
Bigger, fatter, negative.
He's not getting your sign-off before he makes investments in defense stocks? Can I refer you to your
I'm not making investments,
agreement?
Senator.
I am asking, does he know that he has to get your sign-off before he does that?
Of course.
The time
I don't know what
of
you're
the
looking for, but you ain't
senator
going to
has
find
expired. Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
I would like to enter into the record the ethics agreement that the Secretary of Defense has signed, that he will sign off personally before his broker makes any attempt to buy defense stocks.
Is there objection?
Thank you.
Without objection, it will be.
Whew, it got hot. And I just want to let you know that that's kind of the tone that that entire hearing with Hegseth had. It wasn't just with Senator Warren, but a couple of other people that wanted to ask him questions too. They really grilled him, but as you could see, he held his own. So when we come back, there are a couple of things that I want to get into. First and foremost, I hear that there's this principal out in New Jersey who promised his students that had they raised enough money, he would sleep on the roof. Now here in Philadelphia, it's raining, so I don't know what's going on out there in New Jersey, but it looks like he's holding true to his word. So we may give you a live look at that when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. I got a little bit of good news to share with you guys. So I hear that there was this big fundraiser out at Elizabeth Haddon Elementary School. It's called the Raise Craze. And the principal said if his students were able to put together $20,000, he would go to sleep tonight, have a sleepover on the roof of the elementary school. Now they did it. He's holding his word. I want to bring you out. Let's do a big little so you guys can take a live look at what's happening out there right now. He put together a Google Meets. Oh no, what happened? We lost him for just a second. Oh, things are moving around. That's why. See if you can pin it on the screen. Like this epic one right here. This one? Yes. Can you?
Here we go.
Okay. All right. Some things were moving around, you guys. We apologize, but he said that at 8 o'clock he was going to hold some sort of like a good night bedtime story for his students. And again, he's holding true to that. You can see he's figuring out the technology himself. But I want to see if we can listen in as he reads them that story.
Once was a bear, a moose, and a beaver who had always wanted to go camping, but they could never find the right time. It was either too hot or too cold, raining, or snowing, or they were just too busy. But one morning, with not a cloud in sight and no plans for a few days, they decided the time was finally right. They packed all of the essentials and ventured off into the woods. Are we there yet? After a long, exhausting journey, they found a grassy clearing next to a lake and decided it was perfect. I can't move, says the bear. Don't get too comfortable. We have a lot of work to do. He's reading a book, Learn to Camp. Camping tip number 1, make sure tent poles are straight and the pegs are planted firmly into the ground with guidelines securely tied. The bear got to work setting up the tent. Arg, looks good to me. The moose wandered through the forest, gathering twigs, sticks, and logs. Camping tip number 2. Before starting a campfire, always build a fire pit surrounded with large stones. Fill a bucket with water to keep nearby. And most importantly, never leave a fire unattended. He lit a fire and decided that was more than enough work for now. Time to catch some rays. Meanwhile, the beaver started to prepare a camp kitchen. Marshmallows, yum. Camping tip number 3, always ensure the food is packed away in a secure container and out of reach of wild animals and unwanted pests. But when he came across a bag of marshmallows he couldn't resist, he sharpened the perfect roasting stick and headed over to the fire. Crunch, crunch, crunch. 1 second. Right. Instead of finishing their jobs, the bear, the moose, and the beaver spent a relaxing and fun afternoon canoeing, swimming, and basking in the sun. They were enjoying themselves so much they had failed to notice some dark clouds moving across the lake toward them. Reminds me of tonight. Suddenly, a big gust of wind whooshed through their campsite, lifting their tent off the ground and up into a tree. The bear, the moose, and the beaver raced after it. Ah! The bear climbed the tree, untangled the tent, and passed it down to the moose and the beaver. They worked together to set it up again. This time, they made sure the tent was properly secured to the ground. Proud of their accomplishment, they celebrated with high fives. Uh-oh, does anyone else smell smoke? The celebration was short-lived. Their unattended fire had begun to spread. Fortunately, the moose remembered the bucket. He ran to the lake to fill it with water and rushed back to extinguish the fire. Disaster averted, they decided they earned a snack. Just then, the sky opened up, and the bear and the moose and the beaver ran to their tent for cover. A little while later, they remembered that they were hungry, but the snacks were outside, and no one was willing to leave the tent. No way, pretty please. They got hungrier and hungrier. When they couldn't stand it any longer, they decided it was only fair that they all brave the storm together to find their food. Unfortunately, a family of raccoons had gotten in there first. Uh-oh. The bear, the moose, and the beaver started to blame each other for everything that had gone wrong. It's all your fault. Bet you $5 the bear eats the beaver. It was not their finest moment. In the midst of all the yelling and fighting, the bear looked up at the sky and noticed something. Look, a rainbow. In that moment, the bear, the moose, and the beaver realized that they were missing out on the best parts of camping and that they needed to get to work so that they could enjoy the rest of their trip. The bear gathered some wild garlic and blueberries and caught 3 big fish. The moose built a fire pit and filled 2 buckets of water just in case. The beaver built a rain shelter, hung their wet clothes, and even found a bag of marshmallows that the raccoons had missed. After all their hard work, the bear, the moose, and the beaver could finally enjoy the fruits of their labor. Whatever tomorrow might bring, they knew they would be prepared. Now, all they had left to do was put out the fire and go to bed. The end.
Okay, as you can hear, the story time just ended, although he does have a lot of his students on the call as well. This is Elizabeth Haddon Elementary out in New Jersey. So I'm going to answer a couple of questions that we got in our live stream chat. Somebody was like, what are we doing here? Why are we listening to this man read on the roof? Let me walk you back through it. So first and foremost, this principal promised to students that if they raised over $20,000 in their Raise Craze, which by the way, it was set up so that if they committed acts of kindness, they would get paid money. These kids committed a lot of acts of kindness. They raised well over $20,000, and so he held true to his word. He climbed up on the roof of the school with a tent and a queen-size mattress. This is what I'm told. As you can see, the tent could actually be seen like right over his shoulder. So he's reading that book to his students, and some people are like, well, why can't we see the pictures? There was another screen that had the book on it. At the very beginning of this, you saw we had some technical difficulties. If we tried to show you the book as well, you would have seen some of the children. And as a privacy issue, we're not going to show minors whose parents have not consented to this. The school, however, did give us permission to go ahead and share this live stream of him reading to his kids. So very, very nice to see a W principal indeed. We love to see stuff like this. As you all know, if you've got an educator in your life, they don't get paid enough. So for him to go above and beyond, and it's also a school night, he has to get up and go to school the next day after sleeping on the roof. That's a trooper. Okay, so we've got some more school news for you all. We all have been keeping up with some of these Board of Education meetings. As you know, a couple of schools out here in the city of Philadelphia are facing some budget cuts. Some are facing staffing cuts. Well, we're hearing that there's been a vote on about $3 billion out in Philadelphia for school facilities. I want to check in with Shawnette Wilson, who was listening into that meeting and has some more information about that proposal and how they voted. Shawnette, what can you tell us so far?
Well, Judea, almost it seemed like after a very long meeting, the Board of Education voted 6-3 approving this school facilities master plan that has been protested for quite some time now. This meeting started at 4 o'clock. The vote came through, I would say, maybe just after 6 o'clock this evening. And the place was packed today. Family members, community members, students packed this Board of Education meeting for this vote, which was originally supposed to happen last week, but because there was so much protest, board members delayed the vote until today. And at one point, it seemed like it wasn't even going to happen today. They had so much protesting that the board actually went into recess twice because the board members could not speak due to all the protesting from the crowd. The second time they went into recess, they never returned. Instead, they came back on the screen and said, we will continue this meeting virtually. So the people who were left in the room did not get to see the board members face to face making this vote. The board members, again, putting forth this vote virtually, passing the school facilities master plan, which we know is now a $3 billion plan. It means now that 17 Philadelphia schools will close. 170 other schools will undergo modernizations and repairs. This plan was not sitting well with many people who are going to either lose schools in their neighborhoods, some are going to combine with other schools, and again, some will close. So let's listen to some reaction from people I spoke to after the vote.
All that stuff you promised them, that's gone. That's gone because they had to get their modernization plan in, and that destabilizes kids. When they can't see their future, they don't act on their future.
They aren't considering the impact from the communities that they're harming.
City council members, Philadelphia City council members, also turned out for that meeting today. Many of them left early. We did receive a statement from council member Isaiah Thomas's office this evening. He is calling for the resignation of 5 Board of Education members. He is basically saying that this should not happen. And essentially, these are not his exact words, but that this vote is failing the students in the school district. So, Judea, this isn't the last of this. I know that we're going to hear of this. You know, a lot of communities and schools just feel like they've got to do more, but this vote has passed 6-3. So a spokesperson for the school district did tell me today that what this means is that the next steps is that they will put together a transition team, and in 1 year, they will begin implementing this plan. So it was a tough crowd today. It was a tough meeting to sit through. It was very rowdy at times. And I say rowdy, but what I really mean is that, you know, people are passionate about this issue, but it forced them to go into recess twice because it was so rowdy.
And I mean, I imagine that that's why they decided that they didn't want to face those community members, but I can only imagine being somebody in the crowd, you would want to, at least if you're going to tell me some bad news, at least, you know, tell me to my face. I can imagine that's what some people felt. And I want to point out one other thing. First of all, Shawnette, are you a fan of Abbott Elementary?
Of Abbott Elementary, I have watched, yes.
Okay.
I'm not up on current seasons, but yeah, I've watched.
Well, interestingly enough, they say life imitates art, art imitates life. One of their last couple of episodes, they were actually talking about cutting schools, closing down schools in Philadelphia, and Abbott Elementary was on the chopping block. And then the last episode that I just watched, sorry you guys, spoiler alert, they decided that they weren't going to close the school. But I saw some people talking about it in the live stream chat, you know, making some comparisons. And so I just had to bring that up. It is really interesting to see that, you know, it is a reality in a lot of places that we're like, you know, looking at right here on the stream.
Yeah, it is a reality. I do want to say that, you know, a lot of people viewed it as, you know, the Board of Education members, you know, did not want to, you know, make this vote happen in front of those who were there. But the issue was that they could not speak because people were protesting and interrupting. And so moving to the virtual vote, I think the thinking was that they would be able to get through it. Not saying it was the right decision, but I think they were trying to get through it. And, you know, there were people whose passions were so high that they were willing, you know, they probably were willing to do this all night and not let it happen.
I imagine that that's true too. And just as you said, I mean, if that was the point, well, it's true. They were able to get that vote through. Let me ask you as the reporter, is there anything that really surprised you here? Any questions that you still have moving forward as we try to see what's going to happen this next year ahead?
My audio's a little bad, but are you asking, do I still have any questions about what is happening moving ahead?
Yes.
You know, for me, you know, I love the young people. I love kids. And, you know, we'll hear from a student at 10 o'clock tonight. But for me, it's very concerning for them. You know, if you remember when you were, especially like you're in high school and you're going to be graduating, and you pick a school that you want to go to because, you know, and so you think that you're going to have your junior prom there, your ring dance there, your senior prom, and you're going to graduate, and it's going to say your school name on your diploma. And, you know, a lot of these kids now are not going to have that. Yes, they'll graduate, but they won't get to graduate with that pride of a school that maybe they attended for, you know, 4 years. And so I certainly know that that is a big deal for young people. And that's what this really is about, right? I mean, we do realize that this is about money. It's about having schools that are in good conditions. But to young people, you know, these are the things that are important to them. So, you know, I still wonder how that's going to play out with the kids. How are you going to get them to get over this hump and still perform well and be able to move on with their education? Because, you know, you think, you know, well, your parents say this is what it is, you got to do it and we got to move on. But there are some young, you know, people who just may not have the ability to make that transition easily. So you wonder, how this is going to affect, schooling for them, how it might affect their grades, how it might affect attendance even, because now there's a whole other process of transportation and kids getting to schools that, may be a new building or a new location for them. So my questions are, the grown-ups are going to deal with, the money issue that still has to be worked out and, logistics. But for these kids, it's the pride in the schools that they go to, and will they continue to succeed and do well, knowing that they're not going to perhaps graduate from the school that maybe they wanted to graduate from, or be with the friends that they've been with.
But great point there. I can't help but think about a Board of Education meeting that I listened into where a teacher brought she was a special education teacher, she brought her students in, and they talked about how difficult it would be if their school was closed because they would have to, get to know another teacher or paraprofessional, and it's a little bit harder for students like them to make changes, and so I think about that as well. Shauna, thank you. Remind the people you're going to be on at 10 o'clock giving some more information about this story.
We will, and like I said, we've been hearing from all the grown-ups. We'll also get to hear from some of the young people who are directly impacted by this.
Perfect. That is the voice that we definitely need to hear. Thank you. We are going to continue with the news ahead. You guys, I want to talk to you about some of the most trending stories. What are you guys? What's Philly talking about? We'll have more on that with Jake Leonard when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live, you guys. I'm Judea Murray. Brought Jake Leonard up to the desk. I wanted to know, what's Philly talking about? Of course, warm weather's on its way. Summer is in full spring. Well, we're in spring, but summer, is right around the corner, and a lot of people are getting it ready and getting excited for different events. But what's cooking out there with what people are talking about?
So we have a fun poll question for tonight. So we asked the people, are you looking forward to any concerts and or new music coming up? Because summer is festival season, and it's also the time where a lot of artists typically drop new projects. So we have 84% of people saying yes, 16% of people say not at the moment. I don't know about you, but there's a lot that I'm looking forward to.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even if we stuck with just the events that are happening, sports events, it's huge stuff. I did already get my tickets to go see Chris Brown in Usher.
Okay.
Now, that's not till November, but hey,
something to look forward to.
100%. But it's funny that you bring up this question because you guys put on your tinfoil hats. Are you part of the Beehive?
Of course I am.
I knew I liked you, Jake. I knew I liked you. Okay, we're putting on our tinfoil hats because technically this isn't news. This is a theory, but it's a strong one.
Okay.
So, on Beyonce.com, if you scroll down, you know how she always has like her visuals, pictures, videos, and whatnot. Yeah, actually, if we can try to pull that up so the people can see it too. Normally, if you scroll down, you'll see pictures of her. She'll be wishing other people happy birthday. It's like a conglomerate. It actually kind of looks like a Tumblr page. But if you scroll down just far enough, she posted an old school interview that Destiny's Child did with Stevie Nicks. And Stevie Nicks, as you all know, is the queen of rock and roll. Why is this important? Well, because everybody thinks that Act 3, they think there are 3 parts to, you know, Beyonce's tours. She did Renaissance, she did Cowboy Carter, and now they think Act 3 is going to be a rock album. So is this image of Stevie Nicks a nod to that? I don't know.
Yes. I have a theory on this, if I may.
Yes, please.
So to the people, Monday, I don't know if you know, it's the Met Gala.
Yes.
The Met Gala. Beyonce is one of the co-chairs, I think is the title.
I've
So
seen
like,
that.
yeah, so she's one of the people who's like putting it together or whatever. And you know, she's one to take advantage of a big event like this. The Super Bowl a couple years ago, she announced Cowboy Carter. So I think we're gonna get an announcement for Act 3, the rock album, because if you look at Renaissance, you look at Cowboy Carter, they were both released on Friday the 29th, okay? We have one Friday the 29th in 2026. It is May. So I think we're gonna get an announcement. Maybe she's gonna wear like a rock-inspired outfit and maybe like a couple singles, and then it's gonna come at the end of May. So that's what I think.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, she's just been doing a lot of her black fans are really excited because they feel she's been reclaiming some of the biggest genres.
Yes.
We had house music with Renaissance.
Yes.
Country with Cowboy Carter, and then of course this would be rock. It's gonna be rock. It's gonna be rock, you guys.
It's gonna be rock.
Yeah.
And I'm excited because Renaissance and Cowboy Carter were excellent, and I'm excited to see what she's cooking up. I know it's gonna be good. There's been definitely lots of like whispers, you know, like people have been saying, is it coming, is it not? There was like an interview with her mom and she's like, the new music is amazing. So definitely, I think Beyonce is a celebrity.
Tina telling all the tea.
Beyonce is a celebrity that like is very calculated, and when she wants people to know something's cooking, they'll know. So it was radio silence for a while, and now things are starting to peak out. So I think something is definitely on the way, but we'll see.
And I don't know if she does her marketing herself. I imagine that she has a whole team that she probably floats ideas with. But as you mentioned, it's always super duper quiet, kind of like
100%.
fly by in the middle of the night.
100%.
If you know, you know, and then all of a sudden it's everywhere.
Exactly.
So
I don't know. Maybe we'll get breaking news that she announced it on the show.
We're gonna try. We're gonna try.
So,
I can't wait to see what she wears
yeah,
for the Met
me
Gala.
too.
That's gonna be so
Yeah,
interesting.
I'm very,
You know,
very excited.
She doesn't pop
Oh,
out
no.
at events like these either.
It's gonna be amazing.
Whew. Okay, Monday's the day. Monday's the day.
Monday's the day.
Again, we're gonna take off our tinfoil hats now because this is the news.
Right.
When we come back from this break, I got a lot of big actual news to tell you about, things that are actually confirmed. We'll have more on that when we come back. Welcome to Philadelphia Live, you guys. I'm Judea Murray. Got something big to bring to you all now. Our president has gone forward and went ahead. Sorry about that. I was hearing a little feedback there. Our president has gone forward and on a campaign promise that he had. He wants to make sure that people who may not have access to some sort of a retirement savings plan through their employer would still be able to go ahead and save and plan ahead for the future. So earlier today, he signed an executive order that called for a new government website. He'll give you that website in his soundbite that we're going to play for you all. Americans here, if you live here in the United States and you're a citizen, you'll be able to find and compare private sector retirement savings accounts. Let's listen in to what he had to say as he signed it.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. We very much appreciate it. This is a big afternoon. They all are, in a way, because all of these things that we do are very important. This afternoon, I'm thrilled to sign a historic executive order expanding access to high-quality retirement savings accounts for millions of Americans. In my State of the Union earlier this year, I promised to make the same types of retirement accounts enjoyed by the federal employees available to all Americans. So that's what we're doing. It only seemed fair. It's really a tremendous situation for all Americans. That was really much promises made, as I say, promises kept. I'm thrilled to be joined by incredible people that I know and the warriors. Jason Smith, these are Congress people. Brian Stile, Mike Carey, Lloyd Smucker, Bill Heisinger, Ryan McKenzie, John McGuire, Zach Nunn, Derek Van Orden, Jeff Crank, Nick Begich, Monica De La Cruz, and Mike Lawler. Warriors, every one of them. They're great people. They fought very hard for what we're about to sign. And since my election, the stock market has set 59, this is in a little bit more than a year, 59 all-time record highs, adding $9 trillion in value to really the value of our country, if you think about it. Under 4 years of Biden, the average 401k rose at a rate of just $875 a year. Last year, under Trump, the average 401k balance was up $24,000. So $875 versus $24,000, I would say that's pretty good. This is really incredible. The numbers are incredible. The numbers being invested in our country are more incredible than anything. You see it. There are plants being built all over the USA. We have auto plants, not just AI. AI is doing great. We're leading China by quite a bit. But we have auto plants being built all over the country. They're coming back from Canada. They're coming back from Mexico, Germany, Japan, South Korea. Wherever they build autos, they're coming here. Nobody ever thought they'd see that. The union loves me. I did very well with the auto workers, but they like me a lot more now than they did when I was just talking about it. Beginning at the start of next year, every American will be able to go to TrumpIRA.gov and open a new low-cost IRA account. You'll then be able to access the same type of retirement accounts that federal employees enjoy through the thrift savings plans, which are incredible. As part of the Federal Savers Match Program, low-income Americans will be eligible to receive up to $1,000 per year in matching funds deposited directly into their accounts. It's a great thing. For millions of Americans who lack employer-sponsored plans, this will be really revolutionary because they'll be covered. Nobody thought that was possible. For example, if a 25-year-old who is eligible for a Savers Match Program invests just $165 a month under the matching federal contributions, they will have an estimated $465,000 in their account by the time they're 65 years old. In other words, they'll be rich. And there's something awfully nice about that. But this is only the first step. I was talking to Kevin Hassett a little while ago, and the people standing right behind me, we're going to take it to the next level. And the next level, Kevin, you're going to mention something, but the next level will be necessary to have congressional approval. What you just heard, we don't need congressional approval. And it'll never be terminated, because to terminate it, if somebody else is in office, to terminate it, you'd have to take that money away. You'd have to really take away something that's so positive. I don't think any politician would do it. But to take it to the next level, we need congressional approval, which should be very easy to get. It should be bipartisan. Normally it would be bipartisan, but today, nothing's bipartisan, right? I mean, it should be something that everybody supports. So, Kevin, before we start, maybe you could just explain what we're talking about for the next level.
Right. So for the next level, sir, what we're already talking, Chairman Smith and I about, and I've been talking with Mr. Smucker about this for a number of years, is that we're going to expand this program that you're creating here, which is for low-income people, to middle income people and maybe above as well, so that every American, most high-income people have an employer that gives them a 401k with a match, but low-income people or Uber drivers or something, they don't have access to that. They don't have access to the match. What you've done here is you've given the match to low-income people with incomes below $35,000. But we think that there are a lot of people, even who make more than that don't have many assets for retirement. And so we're working with Congress to significantly expand this program, and we're looking forward for legislation this year to expand this.
And also the Trump accounts, you remember, with Michael Dell, Susan, and the group that we had are setting records.
We have
the numbers.
5 million signups right now, sir.
5 million signups in a short period of time, far above what we thought even possible. So congratulations to everybody that got that started. Michael Dell put in $6.25 billion. That's a lot. He put in a lot of money, and he's going to do more too. But they were very responsible. So I just want to let you know it's like record. You are even surprised by that number, I think, right? I don't know if we can do that kind, but it's really way beyond what anyone thought. It's great. And we're going to be doing the same thing, I guess, in a certain way for older people. We're going with a plan that if it works, has to get approved by Congress, but we think it'll get approved. It'll be fantastic for the country. Let's go. Will, do you want to start? Sure. There's some other things, and we thought we'd let these great people from Congress and beyond, or below, I guess I could say.
So first, sir, this is the IRA executive order that you just mentioned. This establishes the retirement accounts with the federal match for eligible people, as you said in your speech and as Kevin explained. This is a big step forward. It's going to provide access to high-quality retirement accounts to a lot of Americans who don't currently have access to such accounts.
Okay. There it is. That's nice. Great. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll do some that aren't associated with this, and then we'll talk about this with the press. You'll ask some questions of the Congress people, okay? Because they were really responsible for this. All right?
Yes.
Who would like to hold that? Good. Popular guy. Okay, let's go.
This is a presidential permit authorizing the Bridger pipeline, sir. This is a transborder pipeline similar to the old Keystone XL pipeline. It'll significantly expand our ability to move oil around North America, oil and gas around North America. It's a huge deal in terms of long-term energy dominance and energy security.
Slightly different than the last administration.
Very different than the last
They wouldn't sign a pipeline deal, and we have pipelines going up. And by the way, they're way underground. They're not a problem. Nobody even knows they're there. It's so crazy, but they wouldn't approve anything having to do with the pipeline, and they're great. As opposed to trucking it or training it, they're great. A lot of jobs, too. A lot of jobs. Okay, very good. Next.
This is an executive order on federal contracting, sir. Many federal contracts currently operate on a cost-plus basis. This provides oftentimes weird incentives for contractors, leads to cost overruns, costs the federal government a lot of money. What this executive order does is it establishes a fixed price contract as the default in most federal contracts. This aligns the federal government with what would typically exist in the private sector, and we believe will continue to drive down fraud and abuse in federal contracting government-wide.
Would anybody like to object to this?
No, absolutely not.
You're fighting for this one, too. Okay, thank you. Next.
You previously announced that we were withdrawing Casey Means as the Surgeon General, sir. and appointing Dr. Safir, or nominating Dr. Safir in her
Nicole.
place.
Yeah.
That on the left is the withdrawal, which will later be transmitted to the Senate.
Okay.
And on the right is the new nomination form for our new Surgeon General.
Nicole Sapphire, she's with Fox, was with Fox. Is it with Fox anymore, Peter? But she's great. She'll be the Surgeon General.
I believe she's with Memorial Sloan Kettering in New Jersey, sir, and she's an outstanding doctor.
She is. I just don't know how Biden used the auto pen. There's so many, really, there's so many things to say. He'd say, here, please take this. It's crazy. All 4 years was crazy. Okay. Let's not bring it up. She's going to be great. Surgeon General. Thank you.
This is a proclamation declaring this weekend to be National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Weekend. Awesome. As you know, firefighters do an incredibly difficult, dangerous job, help keep us all safe. This is a proclamation honoring their sacrifice and remembering those who have fallen.
Great. Everybody likes that?
You bet.
Okay. Firefighters.
That one deserves Lastly, sir, this is another proclamation. Your administration, particularly the First Lady, have made foster and adoptive care major priorities. This is a proclamation declaring National Foster Care Month, honoring those who have participated in foster programs, who have helped raise foster children, and speaking about the many things that your administration, including the First Lady's office, have done on that set of issues.
Yeah, it's been a big thing for the First Lady, so this is in honor of our First Lady.
Well
So let me walk you through what we just watched. Just in case you just got here, you're not exactly sure what you were listening into, President Donald Trump signed an executive order, the very first one. It was about this new government website called TrumpIRA.gov, in which millions of people, we're talking about 50 million Americans, should be able to find and compare private sector retirement savings accounts. So again, this should help those millions of workers who work for employers that don't provide retirement savings plans, so like a 401k, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I need to let you know that this is all supposed to be put in place before next year, where the government would be able to match any contributions. This will be for lower income workers, so it could be very important. And I also want to let you know that while President Donald Trump is the one signing the executive order, part of it is in thanks to former President Joe Biden as well, because that new matching contribution that I just told you about is known as the Savers Match, and it came from 2022. Some legislation passed by Biden in which it offered a match of up to $1,000 for workers who made less than $35,000 a year. And then, of course, he signed some other executive orders as well. But this is all for our retirees, and I wanted to make sure you guys got wind of that. Now, while we're talking about President Donald Trump, you may remember that not too long ago there was a shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Officials believe that the shooter, the suspected shooter, was targeting the president and other high-ranking officials and politicians, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's actually been in court twice now. I'm hearing that he may have another hearing coming up soon. We got some new video from Fox News' Sarah Allegre, and in this, you get a clear idea. As you see, he's running through, and then all of a sudden, the agents, those Secret Service agents, jump into action. This gives us a clear idea of how he was able to storm in and fire those shots. I want to let Sarah Allegre pick it up from here, walk us through this video and what exactly it is that we're getting from it.
Well, essentially, we know that the Trump administration, or at least the federal government, the Justice Department, sharing that video with us, kind of doubling down here, saying this isn't a result of friendly fire. When we're looking at the Secret Service agent who was shot, they're doubling down, saying Cole Allen, the suspect, reportedly shot this man. And so they provided that video. But then you also have some evidence that they're providing to the court, going into their argument that this was a carefully and well-planned, thought-out attack moving forward. You could see him casing the Washington Hilton Hotel the day before. We know he got there by train just around Friday afternoon. And so we have this new video that's being released in the wake of that defense hearing that took place a little bit earlier today. And what we saw out of the defense, instead of pushing for release, we know they zeroed in on how Cole Allen's being held. They said right now he's in 24-hour lockdown. So they want him to get out of that. They say he's been in isolation and under constant watch since the attack took place on Saturday. So that was their argument, and all kind of coming down as we got this new video just a couple of hours ago from prosecutors with a view of Cole Allen before this took place.
Get that for us. I remember in your last hit with us, you told us that it existed. I hadn't seen it before, and then in no time you were able to get it so our audience could see it too. You know, there are still people who believe that this may have been fake, fabricated, but this gives us a clear idea of what actually took place that night. Of course, you and I weren't in the room, but, well, I'm speaking for you. I'm not sure if you were in the room. I wasn't. But this lets us know some of the stuff that happened. I was able to ask you a couple of questions before, and I want to ask you them again just in case our audience is, coming around now for the first time. We heard there's going to be another hearing pretty soon. Can you give us the date on that?
Yeah, so that's coming up relatively soon. In a couple of weeks from now, it's the preliminary hearing. So that's scheduled for May 11th at this point. And this comes as U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, the top prosecutor here, saying there will be many more charges, saying once we get into the grand jury, we can expect that. But so far, he's been charged with 3 federal violent crimes, and she says they're some of the most serious ones in the federal code. And just to go into that, as we've been talking about throughout the course of the past week, we know the most serious being the attempted assassination of the president, of course, but also we know he brought guns across state lines and used one during the attack. He bought those firearms here in the state of California. We know one back in August of 2025, a shotgun, and then a handgun back in 2023. And we also show you those pictures in the last hour, Judea, showing that mirror selfie as well. And the court released that in a filing just yesterday, taken inside the hotel room at the Washington Hilton before the attack. And he's dressed up like he's heading to the event. You see him wearing that red tie. He's kind of all buttoned up. But then if you look closer into that photo too, you're seeing a shoulder holster, a knife, and other tools like pliers and wire cutters, giving us a glimpse into his potential plan.
And so then another thing that I want to ask you about, a lot of people are wondering, well, how do we know that he was targeting the president? They say that they've gotten some writings and they're hearing about some things that he may have told family members.
Yeah, the manifesto, or at least an email that he sent to family members prior to that attack. And we don't want to mention that too much to give him notoriety, but we do know this is being used as evidentiary support to the prosecution when talking about this was something that was premeditated. This was carried out well and carefully thought of as well. And this is where we're getting the indication too, shortly after that email was sent from family members, letting investigators know following the attack that there was some harmful rhetoric. There were some radical statements that were made, siblings confirming this about Cole Allen as well. So we know there's a lot of evidence, and the prosecution just kind of pointing to, or at least signaling, that this case has room to grow here too.
Okay. I appreciate you walking us through what's happening here as we try to make more sense of it here in Philadelphia, New Jersey, and in Delaware as well. This really helps us understand what took place over in D.C., which isn't that far away. Again, Sarah, I appreciate you, and really appreciate you for getting that video into us as well.
Yeah.
We're going to let you go. I know she has to do some more reporting for some of our other sister stations. There are a lot of people around the United States who are trying to learn more information about what took place there. Still ahead, I want to let you know we are checking in on some of our biggest sports teams. We had the Phillies. They had a doubleheader tonight. I want to see where they're at. They won the first game. I'm curious about where they're at with the second one. And then, of course, we also know the Sixers. They started their game around 8 o'clock. It's now 8:49. Where are they at this point? We'll be talking to our sports team when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live, you guys. I'm Judea Murray. I want to talk about all the biggest things happening in the world of sports tonight, especially in the city of Philadelphia, and we're going to start in chronological order. We know that the Phillies started their doubleheader earlier today. I don't know how, but they picked it back up and they started their second game. So after a big win for the first one, I want to know where they're at with the second. Let's bring in Breland Moore from the sports team. Breland, you probably have your eyes on a couple of different games that are happening, but what can you tell us about the Phillies game tonight?
Yeah, so I was actually at the arena for most of this game 2 here, but unbelievable game 1 from this team. Now, at the last check when I came out here, they were losing by a run. I believe it was 5-4 San Francisco. I'm not sure if that has changed yet for this game 2, but game 1, unbelievable finish. Justin Crawford, the rookie, he has had the best start, I think, to a rookie career we've seen in a hot minute. This is his second walk-off win. He got the walk-off hit, of course, and got the water dumped on him, all the other good things. The hero of game 1. And this is not the first time he's done that in his very brief major league career. He's only been in the league this season, and already this is number 2 for him in terms of walk-offs. So really exciting finish in game 1. As you mentioned, game 2 is underway here. And at last check, like I said, they were losing, but putting up a good effort. So very possible to come back.
The game isn't over yet. It's not over till the fat lady sings. That's what they say, right? Well, I don't know if we can still say that, but let me ask you this. Do you get any sense that the way they're playing, you know, they won their first game as well, the way they're playing has anything to do with trying to prove themselves after their manager was fired, or does this just seem to be baseball?
So I think it's a little bit of both, right? You naturally are going to have a boost when you fire a manager because everyone knows that it doesn't start and end with Rob Thompson, and so everyone needs to step up and do a little bit better. Also, it really helps, as I mentioned earlier this week, we were talking a little bit in depth when this all first happened, and I said, hey, don't necessarily take this series as a complete, they are so back, because San Francisco is not the best baseball team. They're under 500. So are the Phillies. But to be able to have a rebound series like this against a bad team is helpful, but it kind of was expected. I would very much say give this a month and a half to see where they really are, to see if it truly has made a difference.
Okay. And hey, we got time.
Yeah.
So let's zero in on the Sixers now. We know this is an incredibly important game for them. It's game 6, and we're trying to make it to game 7. What's going on there?
Yeah, so right now, Sixers at last check currently lead by 1 point, 28-27 here in the second quarter. Joel Embiid leading the Sixers with 9 points so far. As I mentioned at last check, this all could have changed in the couple minutes we've been chatting. But so far, so good. They very clearly have that dog left in them, and I think that's what a lot of Sixers fans that we talked to today on the Fantastic Sports Show just really wanted to see. The first fan that was in the door that we spoke to said, I didn't even think they would make it because they've just had so many ups and downs this season. So just to have them here and to be competitive in this series, I'm really happy with what's going on, even if the unthinkable occurs. And they don't indeed get this thing done and force a game 7 or even win game 7. A lot of that was kind of the sentiment of, okay, well, you know what, at least they're putting up a fight, and they sure are here at Xfinity Mobile Arena tonight.
That's really good to hear. You know, Dawn was talking to some fans too at the beginning of our show, and the general consensus was, yeah, we're going to win tonight. And then she kept asking people, well, what's going to be the key? And they're all saying Joel Embiid. And I just think this is so interesting. This is why you can't let hate get to you, because wasn't it just a couple of weeks ago that people were like, oh, he's always getting hurt. He can't do this, he can't do that. And now we're hoping that he's the one that pulls through for us.
I mean, I thought that was kind of ridiculous, honestly. And I, for one, certainly was not he's always hurt. You can't help when you need an organ removed from your body.
Amen.
And the fact that he came back and is playing, he should not be playing, by the way. The average heal time for an appendectomy is 4 weeks. He came back in 2. He probably should not be playing, but he is. And it's absolutely a miracle that he's able to be out there and not just physically be out there, but to be able to drop 33 points in game 5 and be the leader. That's unbelievable level of rally from him. So he's doing all that he can do. Quite literally had an organ removed from his body April 9th. So yeah, this doesn't start and end with Joel Embiid, though. Everyone else needs to step up and be ready to shoot as well. It doesn't just end with Embiid. VJ Edgecombe, Tyrese Maxey also need to have some big nights, and they're certainly putting up the points. So we'll see how this one goes.
Yeah, so far so good. The score is just what you said, 28. Philadelphia Sixers are up. Celtics are still at 27. Hasn't changed since you've gotten on with us. All right, last but not least, heard that the Eagles had some new news. They're putting the number 9 back to work.
Yeah, so Mekhi Lemon, their new wide receiver, is going to be wearing number 9 for the first time since Nick Foles, of course, Super Bowl MVP. And Lemon actually revealed that he called Foles for his blessing, and he wanted to just make sure that everything was okay, because it is such, Lemon was very aware, and he made that very clear today, that he knows the significance of what Nick Foles was able to do here for this city. And so he just wanted to make sure everything was cool. Nick Foles gave him his blessing, so it's all good. He will be wearing number 9. So that is something really exciting to look forward to. I guess Eagles fans can already start getting their jerseys if they'd like.
That's respect, that he made sure that he touched base with him before he went ahead and did something. So for other people, it would seem bold. But, making sure that he had his grace to do so.
Got to do it the right way.
Yeah. And you said those jerseys are already in production, or
I mean, you can get a custom anything. You can get your own name on an Eagles jersey if you want to go down to the pro shop. So I'm sure somebody in this town already has their Mekhi Lemon jersey ready to go and ordered after today.
Absolutely. It only takes a couple of minutes for somebody to decide that they're gonna put their have you ever seen one of those machines? It's like it's almost like putting a stick.
That's kind of how they do it down there.
I
you should
gotta
go
get some
down
gear
sometime.
myself.
It's a whole thing.
I see, but I need to take somebody who knows what they're talking about and knows what they're doing with me. Otherwise, they're gonna be like, "Girl, no, you need to pay me $500," and I'm gonna believe them.
go to the pro shop. They're good there. They're our friends.
All right, cool. Breland, thank you for walking us through some of the biggest things happening. Before I let you go, is there anything else that you want to put out there? You've been reporting on this. You were on the Fantastic Sports Show. Is there anything that I'm missing?
Yeah, the Flyers obviously moving on and playing the Carolina Hurricanes. Now the Hurricanes swept the Ottawa Senators in 4 games, so they've kind of been sitting around and waiting. We still have yet to have a schedule because there are other teams still playing, so the NHL will release that in the coming days once all of these series wrap up. But yeah, that is their next opponent, and it's very interesting. They've met 4 times in the regular season this year, and they're a common regular season opponent, but these 2 teams have never met in the postseason in their franchise histories, which I didn't know that, and I found really intriguing. But per the NHL, this will be the first ever meeting between these 2, which seems odd, but it'll be fun.
Well, we're going to wait and see how that goes. That'll be really interesting as well. I mean, just looking at how the fans rallying behind them yesterday, orange out. We even still see fans today. I was watching the Fantastic Sports Show, even still seeing fans today wearing a little bit of orange. A couple of people that Dawn was talking to, yes, they would cheer on the Sixers, but then they would also say, "Go Flyers" at the end of whatever they had to tell her.
Oh, yeah. This town is a hockey town, and it always has been. It's just been a little bit dormant for a couple of years. Remember, they have not made it to a playoff series that was able to be featured on Broad Street since 2018, but they haven't advanced to the semifinals that would be played here at home. Remember that COVID bubble season kind of messed everything up. So 2020 was the last time they advanced. 2020 was the last time they technically made the playoffs, but that was in a bubble. Fans weren't allowed in. So the last time they actually advanced into the Eastern Conference semifinals and had those games here on Broad Street was 2012. So this is going to be a really great push for them. And it's also, just to add a little bit of fun, I don't know the statistics on this, but I'm sure this is rare as well. Both coaches, Rick Tocchet, of course, for the Flyers, and Rod Brindamore for the Carolina Hurricanes, are former Flyers players as well. So that just adds a little extra layer of fun.
What are the odds? You know what I really want to see while we're talking about gear and whatnot, we're talking about the fans and seeing who's like a real diehard fan. I would love to know who here in Philly has the oldest Flyers gear that's like still in good shape. Like, I would love to interview one of those people, just like your first game and how long have you had this piece and just stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, the Flyers aren't that old in comparison to the others. There are fans out here that have like original Eagles football gear from the 30s.
Goodness.
So they are floating around. The sickos, they collect. And I say sickos very lovingly, of course, because I too am a sicko.
Are you a
so
sicko?
we love it.
All right, Raylan, thank you so much for bringing us this look at the sports teams. We're going to keep our eyes on the scores. As I let you know, we're gearing toward the end of the Phillies game. I want to see if they're going to come out on top or not. They are so close, but yet still so far away. And then, of course, the Sixers as well. They are fighting really, really hard to stay out on top, but we'll see what happens as the game continues. You guys, when we come back, I want to let you all know about this chaotic crash that happened in Center City right here in Philadelphia. One of our reporters has been on this, apparently has some crazy video to show us too. We'll see that and hear more about it when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. I heard that there was this big crash out in Center City right here in Philadelphia, and it has a lot of people talking. We heard rumors, we heard things that could not be confirmed. I want to get right on out to our reporter, Chris O'Connell, who's been learning a little bit more about this. Chris, hoping you can help us make sense of what happened there. Talk us through it.
Yesterday afternoon, it was a wild scene here on 16th and Lombard, where, I mean, if you look right now, you would not know anything happened. After this light pole here came down, a crash into a wall here, a horrific, violent crash when eyewitnesses say a 2026 Dodge came storming down Lombard Street at about 2:50 yesterday afternoon and barreled right through this intersection, crashed into several parked cars, crashed into, T-boned a Land Rover, and also hit a pedestrian. That 34-year-old woman was literally run over. She is now in the hospital suffering very serious injuries. Another woman in the Land Rover was also hurt. She was hospitalized. And the driver, 21-year-old, was subdued, Judea, by onlookers here who saw this whole thing, saw the crash, and a lot of it, as you see, captured on video. They subdued this driver before police got there, and today we understand he has now been charged with DUI and other related offenses regarding this crash. Luckily, no one was killed, and even more luckily, you have to see the building right behind me. This is Independence Charter School. It's a K through 8. Normally, it would be packed with students, teachers, and parents around 2:50 in the afternoon when this crash happened. But luckily, yesterday on Wednesday, those students dismissed early. No students were here. This intersection would have been packed with kids. Luckily, that did not happen. So we can tell you that 21-year-old driver charged right now or in the process of being charged with DUI and other related offenses. Meanwhile, those two others were injured. We have no word on their condition, but we know the one pedestrian who was hit was literally crushed by this one car, was sent to the hospital in very serious condition. But right now, things are back to normal. But people here that saw the whole thing said it was a wild scene in the middle of the afternoon.
I mean, Chris, looking at that video, yeah. Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about how you get a sense of just how fast that car was going, because like literally a second after it speeds right through the lane there, you see another car coming perpendicular and it's much slower, but probably going the speed limit. And that lets you know just how fast that initial vehicle was going. And then just to see that impact and afterward, that car looking like a mangled mess. We're replaying the video for our audience right now. It's just unbelievable. And so you tell me that we're looking at potential DUI here. He's already been charged, but that's what they're saying, driving under the influence?
Yes, late this afternoon, Philadelphia Police Crash Investigation Division just got the case. They said definitely DUI charges. What kind of substance, what kind of alcohol, we do not know, but we do know it was a 21-year-old. And the people that were out here, number of people told me the same exact number of how fast this guy was going. Everyone keeps saying he must have been going 80 miles an hour. Hard to believe down a city street like this, especially just 2 blocks from Broad Street. But you saw how fast it was going, much higher than the speed limit in a populated area, going through an intersection, through a red light. You can only imagine. You just saw what happened.
And I mean, just as you keep saying, thankfully, none of those kids, none of those teachers, a crossing guard, that no one was in the line of fire as it pertains to that school right there behind you, because as you mentioned, it could have been so much worse. We're praying for anybody who was involved as they come out on the other side of this, you know, hopefully relatively healthy. But just, again, my mind is boggled after watching that video play itself through. Chris, as you've been reporting on this, I like to ask reporters this, are there any questions that you still have that you weren't able to get answered just yet?
Well, there is one thing that I think this school would like to know. The CEO of the school, it's a charter school. The CEO tells me at least once a year they have an accident, a crash, at least within a block from here. They would like to see speed cushions on these roads around the schools, not just this school, but other schools. They said they have been trying to get speed cushions around here. Again, it's not the first or even the second crash they've had, but no luck. They say it is just the speed continues. These are city streets, but they've been working with the community groups and the city to try to get speed cushions or some side of speed resistance, and so far, no luck.
When you say speed cushion, do you mean like a speed bump, or you're talking about like a school limit?
So speed cushions, many times you'll see a speed bump that is on concrete. It's built of concrete, but many places here in the city, they have speed cushions. And basically, they're a piece of hard rubber that it's a temporary speed bump that's drilled down into the ground and bolted to the ground. They're really hard rubber, and they're more like a cushion than than a concrete speed bump.
Okay, no, I've seen those. I didn't know that that's the term for it. This might be our first time on the stream together, but you know, I'm new here and I'm learning everything, so you learn something new every day. You're going to be live at 10 o'clock with more information?
Yeah, we have a little bit more from police. You'll hear from the CEO, and you'll hear from the guy who shot that video and was here firsthand witness of it all.
I appreciate you, and Rob Tody in the live stream chat just chimed in as you were explaining what a speed cushion is. This basically works the same. So again, thank you to both of you for walking me through that. Glad you were able to get us this. Glad you were able to get us this video. You guys make sure you stay with us at 10. Chris is going to have more information available for us. Chris, thank you so much for giving us some time. You guys, wow. I mean, one more time. Can we just play that video one more time? Okay. So as you can see, that car at this time has already, exactly, we just got a gasp in the newsroom. It's absolutely wild. And then you see that pedestrian who just so happened to peek his head out, and you get that real raw reaction. Like, what in the world did I just witness? You see it again. Insane. And then he said the driver that they're charging, of course, this is alleged, this is accused, but 21 years old? At 21 years old, this is a very permanent decision that you would be making. Incredible video that we were able to share. I'm sorry for playing it over and over again, but I'm just bewildered. You guys, we are going to take a quick step back. When we come back, though, we've got more local news, just like you just saw, more local headlines for you all. We're going to talk to you about what's happening around the city, around New Jersey, and we'll throw in Delaware as well. We've got some big news to share with you all. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. Got some heavy news for you all. So, you know, giving you that warning, that fair warning, let's get right on into it. We're hearing that a young husband, we're talking about 26 years old, called his parents, explained that he was having some suicidal ideations, that he was going to kill his wife. When by the time police got there, they say they got to the scene, that 25-year-old wife already dead. They found the husband, that 26-year-old man, dead in the woods near the house. So once again, let me walk you through this again. This is a Philadelphia family that we're talking about here. They were also newlyweds. On Tuesday, they say that that 26-year-old man had called his parents. He's wanted to confess to his wife's murder. He had talked about some suicidal ideations as well. They called the police, obviously concerned for their son's well-being, but also what happened to his wife. But by the time the police got out there, not only was the wife, the 25-year-old wife, already dead, but they eventually found the 26-year-old man dead in the woods as well. They say the couple, they were high school sweethearts. They had been recently married in 2024, so at 2026, they had maybe made it 2 years at this point. The motive for that shooting is still unknown. Police are obviously still investigating the situation. A very heartbreaking story there as well. My heart goes out to the family members, especially if you happen to be listening to this. I apologize for bringing your family's story to light like this, but just something that I wanted to share with you all as well. Now, if you live in New Jersey, more specifically Haddonfield, we're hearing that you need to lock up your car. Officials are warning people. We actually got a tip from one of our viewers, one of our faithful Fox 29 viewers. He says he runs a security firm nearby in Haddonfield, and he heard that there were multiple car break-ins, and so he went and made sure he talked to us. He said, hey, please stay vigilant, because they service a lot of clients, and all overnight multiple cars were broken into. They say that they're seeing increased activity as the weather starts to become nicer, warmer. So as the summer approaches, he's saying be careful out there. So first and foremost, basic tips: lock your car. That may sound, obviously I'm going to do that, but some people, they park near their home, they think they're in a safe enough spot, they leave that car open, or maybe you're just running into the store real quick. I'm coming here from Atlanta. It happens all the time. People get out at the gas station, they're just going to go in and pay real quick, or they're just going to the pump real quick, and that is more than ample time for someone to come in behind you and snatch up your vehicle. They also say turn on your exterior lights. They also say keep your car remotes away from any window or door. They're saying, hey, you should place them in a drawer in the middle of your home, or maybe even on a second floor. That way somebody can't just break into your home and easily steal your keys and then steal your vehicle. He's saying he wants people to be able to get in and get out with their car as quickly as possible if something were to happen. Anything that he was able to do to help us, he was more than happy that he could do. So again, shout out to that viewer, that Fox 29 viewer, who let us know that this was happening in Haddonfield, New Jersey. I wanted to make sure we shared that with you all as well. Now, I'm going to take a quick step back. We're going to turn things over. We're talking about how when the weather gets warmer, maybe some areas are seeing more crime, but I want to talk about what's going to happen tonight. It was raining a little earlier. We know the Phillies game had gotten delayed, but clearly is now back on. We'll check in with our meteorologist to see how things are going for tonight when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. Judea Murray here. I want to talk to you all about what's happening with the weather forecast. As you know, it was raining a little bit earlier. I'm not sure if the raindrops are continuing to fall over our heads here in Philadelphia. So let's check in with Kathy Orr. Kathy, what can you tell us about what's going on out there?
Dry right now, Judea. Those
Good,
are just
all right.
some renegade showers that moved through, but it was enough to delay the Phillies game, and now the final, of course, the Phils won. That's the good news, and the Sixers on top in South Philadelphia. So all good news from the sports world. I'm sure you heard that. In the weather world, drying conditions, and during the day tomorrow, we'll see plenty of sunshine. So as we look ahead, we're talking about a very nice night. Looking, I think that is an orange flyered up on Franklin Bridge, but you could call it red for the Phils and the Sixers as well. Temperature in the city, 58 degrees. Now, as we look at Ultimate Doppler, you can see dry conditions, a northeasterly wind from all of those arrows that you see, and a partly cloudy sky with some clearing in there. During the overnight, temperatures in the 40s, the Lehigh Valley in the 30s, and the Poconos, a frost advisory for the morning. Yeah, not out of the woods yet with those types of temperatures, but for the rest of us, 40s, waking up to sunshine and afternoon highs in the 60s. So a really nice way to end the work week and begin the month of May. We talked about that May has a full moon, and it's tomorrow. It is the full flower moon, and tomorrow evening we'll have partly cloudy skies. We should be able to view that. High temperatures, I mentioned, in the 60s, and increasing clouds in the evening, but nevertheless, you should be able to see this moon. Why is it called the flower moon? Because this is the time of year that flowers particularly will be popping in the North American area, and obviously that includes us. So look to the Farmer's Almanac for more great names for the full moons coming up as we go through this particular spring and summer season. On our Fox Futurecast, something that we're watching carefully is an area of low pressure that will develop off the Mid-Atlantic coast. This is Saturday morning, and it's going to bring some heavy rain through the Carolinas, heading up through the Delmarva, which is Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. And the issue is, how close does this come to the Philadelphia area to bring us rain? Some models bring it all the way up to the I-95 corridor, some brush by through the shore and bring us some showers, and some models keep it offshore. Nevertheless, there is a chance of rain, and that would be in the afternoon Saturday, depending on how close this coastal low gets. So Friday 67, Saturday 62, at least clouds from this in the Philadelphia area. More likely to see a shower as you go south and east of I-95. Sunday, brighter conditions. Monday, warming. Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo, 81. And then next Wednesday and Thursday, showery with cooler temperatures. So those temperatures take a dip, and then they climb back up next week. Mother's Day weekend starts off in the 60s, and then by the end, that day 10, up to 72. And that would be Mother's Day itself, Sunday the 10th. So good news for Mom and everybody celebrating Mom next week.
Absolutely. 72 for Mother's Day, 81 for Cinco de Mayo. It sounds like both of our holidays got a fair stretch of weather. Sounds great.
Absolutely.
And I have to say, too, there are so many meteorological terms that are so interesting and funny to me. You were talking to us about how they have named some of the different moons, but then I think of words like squall that get me every time.
Well, you know what? When I was in school for meteorology, one of my favorite things was frontal genesis and cyclogenesis. Cyclogenesis is simply when an area of low pressure or a storm forms. It's the genesis, the beginning, and a cyclone is a storm system that spins counterclockwise. So anytime a low pressure system forms, you could call it cyclogenesis. So that low pressure system that I showed that could turn into a coastal storm this weekend, we would call that cyclogenesis is happening off the eastern seaboard. So you can use that cocktail conversation, Judea.
I'm going to put it in my arsenal. I'm going to bring it out when people least expect it. Yes,
there you go.
Cultured. I'm well read. I also want to talk to you about some of the biggest things happening in sports. Soon we'll have Breland Moore from our sports team able to bring us a big report on what's going on out there. But let's see if we can take, first of all, a live look out at Xfinity Mobile Arena. Let's see if we can pull that one up for you guys. Okay, so we know that the Sixers are having their game. It's going strong. Let's see what their score is at. I'm typing it in to look just as I speak. Okay, we're still up. 58-49 Celtics. Not bad. It's actually halftime. So sounds like we're doing the thing. It sounds pretty great to me. Let's check in on the Phillies real quick. I assume that game is probably over. Oh, okay, they won. I literally just got that whispered out to me. Okay, sorry for screaming in your ear, you guys. Phillies won 6-5. That was a big deal, right? Didn't they? Hold on, let me double check my notes here. Okay, so first of all, this was a doubleheader. I don't know how they did this because they won the first game, took like maybe an hour and a half break, came back out, and I guess did this. What in the world? They won again. And, putting all the haters to rest, because as we know, they did just lose their manager. Rob Thompson was fired, and then Don Mattingly is stepping in as the interim manager. And so there were a lot of people talking, should they have done this? Is he just the scapegoat? And wondering how the players were going to take it. But clearly, they're all taking it on the chin, deciding that, well, okay, this means that we need to step up, and clearly they have done that. I mean, if this is how the rest of the season goes, I mean, we were talking to Breland, and she said that the San Francisco Giants is not exactly the most impressive team to say you beat, but still, a win is a win is a win. So I'm excited about this. And okay, we still don't have Breland. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. There's some national headlines that I want to walk through with you all, including how millions of us have probably been scammed on social media, because they're saying that we have probably lost billions of dollars to those scams. We'll be talking about how this all works, who's been affected, when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. Maybe you all have forgotten, because there is so much going on all around all the time, but part of the government was still being unfunded. Now, we know that for a little while there, some of those employees were getting checks thanks to a temporary deal that the House, Senate were able to come together with. But for the most part, if things had gone on any further with this partial government shutdown, some of those employees would have been without paychecks again. So today, the House approved a Senate-approved bill, and President Donald Trump already signed it into law. This should fund part of the government just a little while longer. So we're talking about the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. We're talking about the Coast Guard and the Transportation Security Administration, the TSA. Also the Secret Service. They're going to be funded now through the end of September. Now, keep in mind, this bill still does not provide funding for Immigration Customs Enforcement, ICE, or Border Patrol. So this is new funding that we're talking about. Let's listen in to what House Speaker Mike Johnson had to say about this decision.
Democrats got absolutely nothing for their political charade and shenanigans out of that. We repeatedly offered in good faith, I want to point out, remind everybody, to negotiate on funding these agencies, but ultimately the sad and actually shocking truth is there's not a Democrat in the House or the Senate that believes border security and immigration enforcement should exist at all. By word and deed, Democrats have made clear their desire to defund both of those critical functions of our government. We also passed the FISA reauthorization to ensure that the administration is armed with the best possible intelligence to continue eliminating terrorists and defending our homeland. We pray that the Senate can now pass our FISA bill as quickly as possible, and you know they're deliberating over that right now. Now, I just want to say this. Sometimes the process around here is cumbersome. That's the way this works. But in spite of our razor-thin, historically small majority, House Republicans continue to deliver for the American people. We will continue to do that for the remainder of the year, and that is a large reason why we are going to win the midterms so that the grown-ups can stay in charge here. Take a few questions.
Mr. Speaker, isn't this a solution on DHS that could have been passed days or weeks ago? Why did it take this long?
It couldn't, and here's why. You heard me trash the bill when it came over the first time because it literally was drafted in the middle of the night. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning when they came up with the final language, and it was haphazardly drafted. And what it would do is, of course, orphan and leave out immigration enforcement and Border Patrol. If you might remember, in 2024, the #1 issue in the election was securing that border. House Republicans did it. The Trump administration, the president did that. And Democrats are upset about it. So they wanted to leave that out. They wanted to orphan these two critical agencies that are under the umbrella of Homeland Security. I remind everybody on the Hill all the time, the Department of Homeland Security is the 3rd largest department of the federal government. It has critical responsibilities. FEMA and the Secret Service and TSA and all these other agencies. But the Democrats said, we'll do some of that, but we're not going to fund border security and we're not going to fund immigration enforcement. That's absurd, and we threw a fit, and we had to. We held the Homeland bill, the underlying funding bill, because we had to ensure that they could not isolate and eliminate those two critical agencies. We are getting those done now. We passed the resolution first. That was critically important for us to do to ensure that we're going to protect the homeland, even though Democrats are unwilling to do it. So now that that box is checked, we are allowed then to proceed and go through with the rest of it. This will relieve pressure from the Department of Homeland Security. Secretary Mullen, who I've spoken to in the last couple of hours, will be greatly relieved. The President will, the administration will. We were not going to have lines at TSA. Everybody will get their paychecks now. We'll get moving forward. And then we will finish the work and finally get, again, for 3 years with no crazy Democrat reforms, we will fund Border Patrol and immigration enforcement as soon as we return for the work session when that bill is finalized.
On FISA, Mr. Speaker, what do you anticipate from the Senate? And are you concerned that whatever the Senate sends over might be a problem over here?
I'm not concerned. I hope that they're going to do the right thing. Look, we sent over a reauthorization of that was with minor reforms and with the anti-CBDC measure on it. These are very simple things that the vast majority of Congress agrees with, and they should get it done. They're running out of time. As you know, it will expire tonight, the end of today. And so we're calling on them to do the job, pass the House's bill, and get this done. Check the last box of the week.
They're not going to take the House bill.
Well, we're going to see. They don't seem to have another alternative. We'll find out how that works. Yes. I don't know who you're quoting. Okay, so look, they often analogize legislating to making sausage. You don't want to see it made, and sometimes it's an ugly process. Sometimes it's a long process. I've never broken my word to a single person in this building. Nobody can tell you they can. There was a lot of emotion and frustration yesterday because sometimes when you have a small margin, as we do, we're currently working on a one-vote razor-thin margin because of absences and the rest, and people have different ideas, different priorities about very contentious pieces of legislation. The equations that we solved on legislation this week were virtually impossible. Many of you said it couldn't be done. But we got it done because ultimately we just use patience and frankly prayer, and we get a lot of people together and we listen to their concerns and we try to get the disparate priorities handled. I've never asked a colleague in the Republican Party ever to violate a core principle, but sometimes we have to give up on our preferences because we are in a large body. On some of these bills, some of the ones that I just named for you, they're so complicated and so complex You literally had irreconcilable demands on either side of the House Republican Conference. And so it takes a long time to work through that and get people to consensus. But we do that patiently, we do as we must, and we ultimately deliver. Don't doubt the House Republican majority. We always deliver for the American people. We did it again in spite of the challenges, and we'll continue to do that. Thank you.
All right, so you heard it from House Speaker Mike Johnson. I do want to remind you all that this is still a partial funding bill. That the government technically, I mean, right now it reopens the government, but there is still part of Homeland Security that's still not receiving new funding. So this is going to keep it going up until I think the end of September, which was right before November. You all know what happens in November. So let's move forward. I hear that there have been billions of dollars lost from us Americans to scams that started on social media. Now, why are they picking people through social media? First and foremost, the FTC put out some new data. It says that social media makes it extremely easy for, tons of different types of groups of people, millions of people, to be reached. Your information is out there. If somehow they're able to get into your account, I mean, all they need is your password, maybe even knowing some of your, what do they call those questions that they ask you? The security questions. If they know some of the answers to those security questions, they know your password, they can get it in scot-free, they're good to go. And it gives them access to your friends list, sometimes personal information that you have put into chats with friends, with family members. It makes it that much easier. So again, we're talking about $2.1 billion lost in 2025. They say nearly 30% of people who reported money being lost to a scam, they say it started on social media. And they're saying the social media site that seems to be targeted the most has been Facebook. And I mean, you guys have probably gotten those DMs. It seems like it's coming from a friend, but it very much so clearly is not them. They'll be asking you for money, or they'll send you some funky looking link and ask if you can click on it because they need X, Y, and Z from you. Then boom, you click it, and now you're part of the scam as well. Also, sometimes again, they'll have seemingly a friend or a family member ask you for money, and they'll say, can you pay me through PayPal or through Cash App? You'll see those comments that come in under really popular posts talking about oh wow, that link in your bio really works for me, and then people go ahead and click it. In 2025, again, they're saying that we lost $2.1 billion to scams that started on social media. So what does that tell us? Be careful, be mindful. Make sure that if you're clicking the link, you trust the person who's sending it to you. Also, if you're not quite sure if this is a real thing, I mean, go ahead and call the person. Call your friend, text your friend on your phone, something aside from that app, and see if it really is them sending you whatever it is that they want you to see. It also shows that all age groups, with the exception of anybody 80 and over, reported losing more money to scams that started on social media than any other contact method. So I just want to let you know, it can happen to anybody. Don't think that you are too good for it. All right, let's move on. Don't know if you heard, but Live Nation is now offering $30 tickets for the summer. They actually have a post about it on their website, Summer of Live. They've got over 4,000 shows, some of your favorite artists. And right now they're only 30 tickets, but that's only going to last through May 5th. So if I were you and you're interested in concerts and shows, I would head to Live Nation's website and just see if anything, tickles your fancy. Right now I can tell you for sure that they've got people like Ari Lennox, 5 Seconds of Summer, Wu-Tang Clan, Summer Walker, Goo Goo Dolls, Kesha, Kali Uchis, and Lil Wayne. They've got some shows available for you guys if you're interested. Right now, you probably have missed pre-sales, but they're still selling those $30 tickets again until May 5th. So you got quite some time. That's Cinco de Mayo. All right, you guys, let's move on. Pennsylvania for the Democratic National Convention. The mayor wants that bid. She actually launched the bid to host the Democratic National Convention earlier today. So what does this look like for us? In 2028, I mean, regardless of whether it was going to be the Republican National Convention or the Democratic National Convention, this means a ton of people flocking down on our city, interested in seeing where they can go out to eat, where they can go out to drink, maybe supporting some of our sports teams. It's a really big economic move, but also it's a really big political move. It would put Pennsylvania on the map. So you guys probably remember a couple of years ago, Governor Josh Shapiro spoke at the National Convention. I believe it was 2024, and he set the stage on fire. He was a great speaker. So Mayor Parker today said that she wanted to put Philly's name in the hat on whether or not we could host a convention like that here. And I mean, just look out in the crowd. So you're getting representatives from every single state. You're also getting some voters who just want to be in the room. It's a couple of nights worth of talks, of speeches, a lot of rallying. And then my favorite part of any national convention is when they do the roll call, because every state is so interesting on how they represent themselves. A lot of them have they have music special to the state that they live in. So they play the music, and then all of a sudden it'll go out to the representative, and they will say who they are, say what their state is known for, and they'll be like, "We are here, we are in the room." It's really interesting. And sometimes they also have performances. So again, if we were to get the DNC, if we were to get the RNC, it's a really big deal. Again, Mayor Parker's putting our hat in the ring. I want you guys to listen in to what she had to say earlier on. We have a sound bite from her, Pennsylvania for DNC side. Let's see if we can pull it up.
David, Philadelphia, let me start by saying that through this process, I knew I had made the right decision when I asked David to serve as president of our host committee and Dan Hilferty to serve as our chair. Chairman Martin and members of the DNC delegation, let me start by saying welcome to Philadelphia. I want to open in my remarks by sharing something that I believe in my core that the late, great Dr. Maya Angelou taught us. She said that in life, people will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but they will never, ever forget how you made them feel. And that is what Philadelphia delivers. The birthplace of American democracy and the core of values that underlie our democracy. Philadelphia, the #1 travel destination in the world this year, according to both the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. I want you to know that we are stepping into our rightful place, and this right here, this is about what comes next. Bringing the Democratic National Convention back to Pennsylvania, back to Philadelphia. The statewide effort and partnership and coalitions that we've put together to do just that has been nothing simple of amazing. I want you to think about Pennsylvania, and I want you to think about rural, suburban, and urban Pennsylvania, all coming together, united as one commonwealth. For those of you who know me, you know that when I was young, Chairman Martin, you have a love for basketball, and you played and you coached. I ran track, and I was a cheerleader, and so I have a bit of a competitive streak. I don't like to lose. But that is why we are doing our best in showing everything, Mr. Chairman, that Philadelphia has to offer. And what sets us apart, and this is important to affirm for the record, is not just our history as the birthplace of democracy, but our ability to deliver results on the national stage. The DNC delegation is seeing a city that is organized, that is prepared, and quite frankly, aligned. Meeting with leaders across government, labor, business, the civic community, all together to prepare for working together. For some of the DNC members, I know the last time they were here was for the convention in 2016, and some of you had to walk in the building to say, this doesn't look like it looked in 2016. The convention was superb, but we haven't stood still. over the past decade. Since 2016, this is important to affirm, we've expanded our hotel capacity, we've strengthened our infrastructure, and shown time and time again that we do large-scale events better than any other city. With billions of dollars of capital investments, thousands of new hotel rooms, and proven technical and logistical expertise that's needed to provide the best convention that we've ever experienced. The DNC delegation is, in essence, getting to know our city, and they're getting to know our people. And so what you're witnessing up close and personal, Mr. Chairman, we're happy that you get a chance to see our grit, to see our hustle, and the pride that makes Philly so unique. And while they are here, they're also seeing how this convention can remind the country about who we are as a people, humanity. We won't forget that America's first chapter was written here, that's true. And we think the next great chapter can be written here in 2028 about what makes us the greatest nation in the world. And I'm so excited that we literally get an opportunity to show it off to the world. Mr. Chairman and members of the DNC, I want you to know that, and I want to forewarn you about this. If you ever see us on social media in a picture, or you ever see us in any kind of clip and you see the entire audience with one finger in the air this way, I want you to know that this is not a nefarious gang sign of any sort. But this is our signature for what we share when we say one Philly, a united city, and one America, a united nation. Thank you. Thank you.
So will Philly get it? I don't know. I want to let you know we're up against some pretty big competition. Atlanta wants it, Boston, Chicago, and Denver. They have also put in bids as well. Now again, you heard the mayor say that the last time we here in Philadelphia hosted the DNC was 2016, and it was a success. So could we get it again? Again, the question is maybe. I mean, the answer is maybe. We'll see. The 2028 DNC is slated for early August. All right, you guys, let's take a step back. When we come back, I want to talk to you about some trending stories. What's Philly talking about? We'll check in with Jake Leonard from the digital team when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live, you guys. I'm Janae Murray, joined by Jake Leonard, and I want to know what's Philly talking about.
So I have a really, really cute story for you.
Lay it on
So
me.
it comes from a story that our own Jennifer Lee did in some of the earlier shows, and it's about a couple in Bucks County who stumbled upon some old letters that were between their parents way back in the World War II days. So basically what happened was, a little bit ago, there was a collection that a man purchased, and he was looking through and found these letters from the World War II era unopened. It seemed like they weren't delivered, and so he, using Ancestry.com, was able to track the children of who the letters were addressed to, and recently gave the letters back to the family.
First of all, the world is such a big but small place that he was able to find them, but also lost love letters.
I know, isn't that incredible? I cannot believe they were never opened. There were so many of them. They were over like 70, and basically once opened, it was just kind of them confessing their love for each other, and it served as a really good time capsule into like what life was like during World War II.
I wonder why they were unopened all this time. Maybe they got, well, we're saying lost, but maybe they literally got lost in postage and then eventually popped up one day. And
Yeah, they were like they were from Philadelphia, and they were sent to like various different places, one being like San Francisco, so maybe they were lost in the mail. I don't know. But they were together. I'm confused. I'm just happy that the kids got them, and it's sweet because they were reading them and they were like, I feel like I'm getting to speak to my mom again. I feel like I'm getting to speak to my dad again.
That's a cry, you guys.
Isn't that so wholesome?
Yes, it is. Wow. Okay. Whew. I really was getting worked up. Stuff like this, it like reminds you about humanity, that people are really good out there. Because this guy who found these letters could have thrown them out. This has nothing to do with me. I don't know these people on these letters. I don't need them.
Exactly.
But went ahead and found the kids.
He brought them back, and the kids obviously at this point are older, and it brought them so much joy. Reading this, they were like, wow, I never knew my mom like this, or I never knew my dad like this, and it really showed them the love that their parents had. And it's like later in life, it's hard for things to surprise you, and so the fact that they got this incredible surprise, I'm talking about it, I'm just smiling because it is just such a good story. Like, you just feel good, and Jen Lee did such a good job reporting on it. You can find the full story on our website, Fox 29 Philly. It's posted on our Instagram. I definitely recommend checking it out because it's a beautiful story, and she did such a good job covering it.
Shout out to you, Jen. Let me ask you this, Jake. I don't know if this has happened to you yet, but have you gotten to the point with your parents where you realize, wow, you're just a regular person like me?
Yeah, it's actually so funny that you said that, because somewhat recently I was doing some sort of like project, and I need to get old pictures, so I was like kind of rummaging through, and I stumbled upon my parents' wedding pictures. And it was really like a moment I was like, wow.
My mom was just a girl one time.
I know, they were so young, and just like I was like, oh my gosh, because it's like, obviously to me they're so different.
They're our parents. You see them as like being on a pedestal, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, they're human.
Exactly. So it just brought so much joy. You get pictures and letters and anything physical. It's so hard in this day and age, because everything is digital, but there's something so beautiful and meaningful about holding a letter or holding a picture, which there is kind of like, I feel like a resurgence of like Polaroid pictures and digital cameras and stuff, because it really is truly unmatched. Like holding something, vinyl is coming back for music, because people just love those like physical things. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think too, my mom has gorgeous handwriting, and she's still with us, obviously, but if one day, I can only imagine like seeing a letter with her gorgeous handwriting on it would probably make me just as emotional as I got over these people I don't even know. But their love story is just so cute. And the whole point that I was getting to with like realizing that your parents are just regular people like you and I, when you're reading their love letters, that is like the most vulnerable a person can be. Especially like during the war, they're probably laying it on thick for each other.
I know, because I mean, it's almost hard to grasp. It was so long ago. It's like that was their only communication. Like it almost sounds silly to say, but it's like we're so used to texting and email and constant communication. Back then, a letter was the only way to kind of reach out to someone. So it's like it's just so nice to see, you know, like that things like that are still happening. So much joy is coming from this. Like you said, it is just restoring your faith in humanity. So a really great story that I'm glad it got this coverage.
Me too. And if you guys liked the way we described it, I promise you're gonna love the way Jen put this story together when you actually hear from the people involved and get to see like it physically. Again, it's available on our website, so fox29.com. You can also go on the Fox Local app. Find the article as well.
And on I posted it, Instagram, TikTok. I wanted as many people as possible to see this story. It's a great one.
Beautiful. All right, with that, you guys, it's about that time. The news does continue at 10. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll get right back out to the news, weather, and all that for you.